everyone. Welcome to the 7th season of the Pioneer Invitational, brought to you by the MTG at Home Discord server. My name is Brad, and I am joined, as always, by my lovely co-host from the Pioneer perspective, Alex. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. I'm honestly excited. I'll be honest, I've been playing the new World of Warcraft expansion all week, but I am very happy to take a break from that to cast some Magic, because there are some cool decks in today. I can't wait.
Yes, we have quite the slate ahead of us. We are here, like I said, for the 7th Invitational for the Pioneer side of the MTG at Home Discord server. We have gone through 8 weeks of rigorous battles between all these players week in, week out to determine who the best of the best are. And now we're here. Our top 8 is represented by some wonderful players and 6 new faces. If you joined us from last time on the 6th season, we have 6 new players. So it's kind of shows that anyone can hop in and anyone can do well in this in Pioneer, right, Alex?
Yeah. One thing that is interesting to point out, and I'm not entirely sure on the numbers, but I think this is the first month where we had separate events for Europe too. So this is where we really see like the European time zone and the North American time zone, where it used to be that we were operating a lot on the North American time zone, but now that we've got both time zones, which do share a leaderboard, we see some people, I think going to see them in a bit. I think our first matchup is Civilian, which I believe plays on the European time zone predominantly. So it's cool to see like the field expanding. And it's also just a cool sign for our server that like we have grown to the point where there was demand for a second series of events, but everybody wanted to go to one invitational because that's what we're in. That's what we want to see at the end.
Of course. Well, if you're new here, welcome. We are the MTG at Home Discord server. We will have a link available in the chat for Twitch for those of you who want to hop in for the first time, play some Paper Magic. We have all different formats available. The big 2 that we run the most are going to be obviously Pioneer, like you're seeing today, as well as Modern. We have interchanging every other month for Modern and Pioneer, so you can always check us out streaming those invitationals as well. As far as the structure of the tournament is pretty straightforward. It will be a 3-round Swiss structure. Straightforward as it is, right? And let's go ahead and look over at our matchups real quick and let's see what the pairings are. Now, we do have, like I said, 8 players here today, 6 of them brand new. The first matchup will be Civilian and Jukalol.
I just heard from Matt we have a 4-4 split between NA time zone and EU time zone, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, like I said, it's showing the wonderful design of the 2 different time zones kind of working out for us. But match 1 is going to be Civilian versus Jukalol. Jukalol is on 4-color Omnath, while Civilian is on the old tried and true Boros Burn. But before we go into that matchup, let's kind of quickly go through these real quick. So we do have Shed versus Scouter in match 2. Shed is on Esper Control. Scouter is on Boros Feather. Then we have Sir Epic, who is on Azorius Spirits, who's normally the Enchantress player, and actually won the last invitational on Rakdos Pyromancer, versus Poppin' Nades, who is going to be on a blue-white control featuring Approach of the Second Sun. Finally, we have Zeth, who is currently on Gruul Possibility Storm, and then the Immortal Sun on everyone's favorite Gruul Dinos. So these are some wonderful matchups, wonderful decks we have available to us. Alex, what are you most excited to see?
All right, so we're going to be looking at table 1 because of how it's structured, but I'll be honest, table 4, if you tell people, yeah, it's Gruul versus Gruul, and then they're going to be like, oh yeah, it's whoever drops their Embercleave on the Questing Beast wins, right? It's like, no. Not that type of Gruul. It's going to be Gruul combo versus Gruul dinosaurs. And some people might be thinking before the chat like draws any conclusions, like, oh yeah, Gruul dinosaurs, someone's playing a standard deck they like. I think you and I, Brad, can both attest. We have been slapped around by this deck quite a few times.
It catches you off guard if you're not ready for it. It like, okay, let's say you're playing, something like 4-color Wreck or 4-color Omnath in this case when it comes to Juke, as we'll see in table 1. Anger the Gods does literally nothing against this deck. It does absolutely nothing. Yes. And your most spot removal, like you see Scorching Dragonfire get played a lot. And 3 damage is pretty much the norm. Yeah. Oh, the Gaia, yeah. When you get the Esper deck.
If you're against Burn and you put a big dinosaur in front, you're going to have to throw 2 removal spells at it. If it's Ripjaw Raptor, they're going to draw 2 cards. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, and you literally, you neg your opponent in that regard. So that's...
Now, do you remember how expensive Ripjaw Raptor was when it was in Standard? Man, that card was anticipated and didn't see a lot of play. But it is really good here. But overall, I'm very excited, especially just to have 8 different decks. And a very nice range of decks too. Now, a deck that we've seen recently a fair bit, and we've also seen people on the server play that is definitely missing, in my opinion, is Lotus Field, which I'm surprised to not see. And the very, popular, then not popular, then they figure something out and are popular again. There's no Oops All Spells either, which we did see, I believe, in the Modern Invitational. And that deck is missing from the Pioneer Invitational.
Yeah, we are missing some key players, but you only got 8 slots to kind of choose from, so you gotta pick your poison a bit. And you have to remember that while some of these decks might not be at the forefront of everyone's mind when it comes to the best of the best in Pioneer, these are the players that have been playing with these decks and fine-tuning these decks for the majority of the lifespan of this format. So if you're a Gruul Dino player like Mortal Sun is, he's a damn good one, because that's all he plays.
We're seeing some, we kind of have our, deck specialists here, to an extent. We've got Gruul Dinosaurs, Zeth with his Possibility Storm deck. As you pointed out, we were going over the decks. I don't know, he just keeps winning. Yeah. He just keeps winning with this deck.
Yeah, I would play him I played him 3 weeks in a row when I was on 4-color rec, and I don't think I won a single match. That deck just randomly beats you, and it's so hard to deal with. And it's just a big feel bad. But let's go ahead and take a look at the actual decks in question. When it comes to Table 1, Civilian versus Juka Wall. Now, first one's first is going to be up for Civilian, which will be Boros Burn. Alex, this is as stock of a Boros Burn list as you can possibly get for the entire 75. So is there anything you can say about this list that is noteworthy to point out for the viewers?
I mean, I'm still always a little bit caught off guard by the Wayward Guide Beast.
It's so good in the deck.
And that is honestly the one card you could point out. Now, if you look at this deck list, and if you're like me and you like seeing this sort of thing, this deck list is a beauty. It's 4 off, 4 off, 4 off, 4 off, 4 off, 4 off. The only spot for this this Wayward Guide Beast is the fact that it runs 19 lands. That's where it finds the odd one to put this 1-off in, but it's all 4-offs, even the sideboard. And I can imagine it so post-board so cleanly swaps I'm going to swap this 4-off for this 4-off, and just get a super clean list going. And it's a beauty to see. I mean, last time on the Pioneer Invitational, we had Burn 2, and I remember someone commenting in the chat, you're playing your deck well if even the caster wants to see more Burn.
Which we did. That match 2 between Rakdos Pyromancer, piloted by the eventual champion Epic, and Burn was one of the best matches.
Some of the best Magic I've seen
it was great.
In a very long time.
Now, looking at this particular matchup in general against 4-color Omnath, before we move on to that deck, any cards of noteworthy that you're you gotta bring it in, or it's gonna be great against the matchup, or just awful?
I mean, I think one of the main ones. Now, I'm no expert on this, but I'm gonna assume this is the type of matchup where Roiling Vortex comes in, right? Just denying that life gain, getting those pings in, and funnily enough, we'll see it in a moment. Actually, no, Genesis Ultimatum puts cards on the battlefield, it doesn't cast them for free. So I'm not sure if that clause is going to come in very frequently, but just the knife gain denial and that clock, I mean, it's the Pioneer/Modern version of Sulfuric Vortex, I believe is the legacy card. And we see how good that card is. So if you take a light version of a legacy card, it's probably still a pretty good card.
Yeah, and then you got to look at Chain of the Rocks and some number coming in. I mean, 4-color Omnath has obviously Omnath, and it has Uro and big things like that. So we got to see Chain of the Rocks.
It's always the card that kind of has to. It's not a card you're really happy to put in, because you don't want to put in too many numbers, because you see an opening hand with like 2 lands, 3 burn spells, 2 Chain of the Rocks, you're like, how am I actually going to kill my opponent? Right? So
speaking of killing your opponent, though, let's take a look at Juke's way of killing burn for this. So let's move on to check out Juke's list for 4-color Omnath. And
we see it already, much bigger screen, right? Not as clean, not as many 4-ofs. The list is much larger. Like, we see an Ugin, a Spikefield Hazard, some Felidar Retreats. I'm kind of going all over the place. We see a King Ken, because he goes very well with your Genesis Ultimatum, which Escape to the Wilds, Grove Spiral. This deck doesn't just go big, this deck goes massive.
Yes, and before we get to the sideboard, the biggest thing, and we talked about this prior to the stream, there's a little bit of a 2-of right there chilling in the deck in the creature slot. Alex, this is the biggest creature and the biggest card in this entire matchup, in both of our opinions. It's Sylvan Caryatid. It's so big. You wish you had 2 more on the sideboard, I would feel like.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to claim expertise over this, because this is all Patrick Sullivan, which everybody probably knows is like one of the greatest one of the greatest red mages of all time. And he always talks about how good Sylvan Caryatid is against this type of deck, because it blocks your 2-power creatures. Now, that's often talked about Modern, where like Goblin Guide doesn't have prowess, so it doesn't grow. But hey, it blocks the Guide Beast. It blocks a Via Shield Pyromancer. It blocks a Lava Runner. And it gets you consistently to your large plays. Right? A turn 2 Caryatid guarantees a turn 3 Omnath. And that is the type of thing you're going to have to be looking at in this matchup.
Yep. So I would imagine, aggressive mulliganing from Juke here to try and get Sylvan out as quick as possible, get it out on turn 2, because that's really the difference. Because the thing that makes this deck survive against burn is not getting a turn 3 down Uro, is not getting a Omnath down on turn 4 on curve. It's about getting the roadblock in the way so you can comfortably put those things down, because you could easily gain 3 life from Uro and then 4 life from Omnath the next turn and still die if you don't have a way to stop their spells coming at you. Burn is just that oppressive as far as just burning you out.
And I think you can quite comfortably mulligan to an extent, because you're only generally gonna need 1 card, right? If you have an opening hand with 3 Escape to the Wilds, you're probably, if in a game you're winning, you're probably never casting the 3rd before the game is already decided, right? Like, even something like Kenrith. You play a Kenrith, they don't have 2 burn spells to throw at it, you just start gaining life every turn. And then the life gain becomes so big that it matters.
Look at the sideboard, anything you see of note coming in, I mean, my gut would really, my heart wants to bring in Scavenging Ooze, but that's a trap, right? So you probably bring in the Magma Sprays and Deafening Clarions.
Yeah, there's other life gain in your deck, right? It's not like, if you talk like, maybe like Modern Jund or something that can bring in a Scavenging Ooze, because it might be like one of your few sources of life gain. There's plenty of life gain in this deck. What I do like a lot looking at this sideboard is the 3 copies of Magma Spray. Like, definitely being more prepared for these burn style decks and not just banking on 3 mana sweepers that are probably going to be too slow. And that's what I like about this list. Yeah, 3 Aether Gust, 3 Magma Spray. Like, combine that with the roadblock of a Sylvan Caryatid, and I'm seeing a game plan, right?
Yeah. And never has the second mode of Deafening Clarion been so relevant in a matchup.
Oh yeah, just gain an extra 6 life for your Uro.
Yeah. All right, so I believe we should have the battlefield ready to go in just a moment. Let me just get quick word to make sure that we are ready. While we're waiting on that, Alex, do you have any predictions? Who's going to win this match?
Now, I've heard from people testing on the server that Burn tends to be favored. Now, I think you can get away with 4-color Omnath winning if you play your cards right. However, the Burn list is so clean, and I know Civilian to be a very good player too, so I'm going to slightly give an edge to Burn. I think it's like a 55-45 for Burn or something.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. I think this is a trap for Jukawal. This is a trap on this deck. You look at 4-color Omnath, you're like, I gain a bunch of life. I have Uros, I have Omnaths, and like I said earlier, if you just can't get the roadblock down, it doesn't matter if you gain 7 life in a couple turns. They can do enough damage to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of getting those roadblocks down early and often for 4-color Omnath, which, just draw the right half of your deck, basically.
Yeah, the thing is, these are both good pilots, but I feel like Burn already does well in a matchup by just knowing how to play Burn well, and 4-color Omnath also needs to have a very good understanding of the matchup. Like, I don't think any of these two players are going to make, like, fundamental mistakes in piloting their deck. So it's going to be very much about knowing how to play the matchup. And I feel like in that way, sort of Burn has it quote-unquote easier, because once you know, like, how to play Burn, you probably know how to play against live gain, right? That's, like, one of the first lessons you need to learn when you play Burn. Like, aggressively mulligan to creature hands, for example, because you need that more consistent damage, because a shock doesn't do anything, but 4 hits with a Soul Scar Mage does, right? That sort of thing. And in that sense, I think Civilian's going to know that, Civilian's going to have that down, and that's why I think he gets the edge.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the battlefield, make sure that the players are ready and good to go. And I am definitely excited to get started. This is going to be a cool matchup. I don't know how you are, Alex,
right.
but
I am very excited. I'm excited for all these decks. They're all cool decks. They're all different decks.
Yeah. Every matchup is going to be one of interest.
Yeah, we don't have to slog through any slow mirrors today.
4-color Omnath.
I love these animations, by the way.
Versus the animations, clearly. And we have Juka Wolf featuring 4-color Omnath on the left-hand side of your screen and Civilian on Burn on the right-hand side of your screen. First things first, we got to judge the play mats. Who's the winner in that regard? I kind of like the bubbly squid on the right. Just adorable.
Ooh, I like, yeah, the squid is really cute. Like, I've played against before, like, the squid gets me. Like, he just brings good luck.
Good luck, squid.
Yeah, good luck, squid. Wasn't there a squid they used to, like, predict the games for the World Championships in football or soccer? They had this thing in Germany where they had this squid predicting, like, who would win. So I'm just gonna go for the good luck squid. This is just
I think most things have I don't know, like some kind of animal that predicts something. Like I know there's like the puppy ones on so many different social medias for sports where it's like the puppy picked this doll to win. There we go. And they have the puppy's record on screen like halfway through the season, and the puppy's like always like 9-1. It's incredible. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, that's why I like that story so much, because instead of like a cute puppy or something, they're just like, we picked a squid because this squid knows how to play football.
It'd be the best goaltender in the league. Look at all those arms.
That is true. Like, if you could teach like squid football would be so boring because they'd never be able to get a goal in. Imagine
they
a
wouldn't be able
squid
to
with
roll
8
around the ball.
gloves.
All right, we're seeing a roll from Juke. Let's see who gets the play here.
Definitely a very important factor in a matchup. Like, going in blind, the 55-45 for Burn, in my opinion. But the moment that 4-color Omnath gets to play in game 1, that might already shift to, like, I mean, it's obviously like hypothetically talking in numbers, but like a 52-48, right? It maybe even more. It can really swing the matchup like quite significantly.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just and we've seen plenty of times. We saw it last Invitational. There was, I believe, it was game 2 that Burn won. Maybe it was game 1. Not important. We saw Burn on the draw still win on like turn 4 or 5. It was like, yeah,
especially with a card like
got
Light
it.
Up the Stage, like gives you the reach, right?
Yeah, of course. And there were plenty of times where someone, turn 2, you need to just go, okay, we're going to shock you in the face, light up the stage, set up the next turn, and have fun.
That's always a feel bad, though. You never want to do that.
Of course. No, but I've seen it work perfectly fine because, again, Burn players always have it. They always have it.
Yeah.
When you're sitting at 2 life and you're like, I have lethal next turn.
You know, like how these Burn decks,
Burn spell.
I mean, it's obviously for Chain to the Rocks, but like they don't run any Ramen Up Ruins because they don't flood.
Yeah.
They always have it.
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, flooding in a 19-land deck would be very unfortunate, but
my personal list of Boros Burn, I have 2 Ramen Up Ruins in there just because I'm like, I love this card so much. I love it from standard. Give me the little reach, please. I don't care about burning myself. All right, looks like a mulligan from Juke. Probably down to 6. Looks like just bottoming 1. And Juke is on the play.
Yeah, so Juke's on the play, starting off with a Triome. I believe
Yeah,
that
looks
is the
like
Jeskai
Rogren,
one.
Triumph. Yeah, Rogren. We see a mountain come in from Burn, and what's the one drop
And
they
it
have?
has.
Nothing. No one drop. No.
I mean,
Horrible start.
maybe we are looking at a hand with like 2 Viashio Pyromancers or something, right? And they're like, I want to get that creature draw in. And if I have a hand with like 2 Viashio Pyromancer, a Wizard Lightning, and 2 Boros Charm, I have the repetitive like creature damage come in. But I am surprised to see it. But maybe civilians realizing, which might be right too, which is you also just need an X amount of resources to punch through the life gain.
It's possible. And they're just
End
gonna
step shock
wild
though.
slash face on end step.
Yeah, wild slash.
Makes sense. Which that card was like $10 a piece at the beginning of Pioneer. Crazy. How far we've
Going
fallen.
for Viashio Pyromancer.
So far your prediction is correct, with probably a couple of 2 drops in hand. One card I think is garbage in this matchup, as we see a Growth Spiral on
Yes, that's a Growth Spiral coming in.
As we see Growth Spiral come in, I would say that Eidolon is probably really bad here for Burn in this matchup. You probably take those out.
Yeah,
Right?
like your opponent's probably casting like 5 drops. Right, we see an Uro being played.
Yep.
Now I see some lands at the top of Duke's screen. I'm gonna assume that is when he's tracking mana with Omnath and Lotus Cobra. So those are just easily in reach, and you just like get those basic out and try and track your colors.
I would always use the Theros Beyond Deathlands, the one that are like the Pokemon energy cards, because I think those are perfect for like representing like I'm keeping track of these colors, not actually use them as a mana base.
True. You can also just try and find actual energy, because if you found old energy cards, they are actually printed by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
I think there's a Fable passage being correct.
Yeah, as
finding...
we're digging for a some kind of.
I'm just gonna assume it is a forest, because I would want to keep a Growth Spiral up or something. I don't see why I would otherwise like fetch now. Oh yeah, or obviously just playing a green drop, which is a Growth Spiral.
There you go. So we're seeing 4-color Omnath do its thing. It's rampant.
I mean, that is, I believe that is 7 lands.
Is it 7? Can I not count? Oh god, it is.
We're looking at a turn 4 Ugin,
which is just flat out unbeatable from Burn.
Yeah, if that Ugin, I mean, it might be 6 lands. It's a bit hard to see. I think it is 7. I'm pretty sure it's 7.
Well, they
had
land drops.
Yeah, so there's a light up stage being cast. Probably fishing for a land, maybe?
Not the most ideal spot to be in for Burn. I mean, to be fair, we favored the matchup, right, for Burn. The problem is Burn has to have it. We've made the joke a few times that they always have it, but when they don't, this is not the matchup to stumble. You cannot stumble against this deck.
Yeah. Like, you need to hit the ground running, and end step on the draw, end step wild slash you play a Viashio Pyromancer, and your opponent has Growth Spiral, Uro Growth Spiral, they're probably running away with it. But one thing that can always swing it back, which is why this matchup might not be as like lopsided or like hopeless as it seems now, ramp can often have the problem where you just forget, but like you don't find a threat. You also need to find a way to win the game at the end of the day.
Yep, and we've seen some pretty gross whiffs with Escape to the Wild, so that's always fun.
Because the deck is 50% lands. So even like a Genesis Ultimatum, which I believe we are seeing an Omnath. So that is a good draw. Going for a land, gaining that 4 life, going up to 18. And it's starting to look grim. Going for an Omnath, going up to 23. And if he 21. And when he manages to make that land drop, which he does, that's going to trigger the Omnath and gain him 4 life. 4 mana. And 4 mana is being used for... I can't see what that other card is. I think that's a Lotus Cobra. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, that is Lotus Cobra. That's the fancy art. And is there anything that you can draw that's main decked right now currently for for burn to get out of this? I mean, I don't think there is.
No, the main thing I'd be looking into is just the crazy like light up the stage, burn you out like very quickly draw. But I think we've already gone past that point with an Omnath now on the field.
Mhm.
Unless that Omnath might be blocking, might be a way to kill it right now, but there's just a Boros Charm going upstairs. So at the 17, the Cobra dies, I think, which you don't really care about if you're Duke.
No, it's not the best creature in this matchup anyway. You're already so well ahead as far as mana. You don't care about the extra mana being generated by the Cobra. Untap, draw. See if we can see another land come down. Probably. They usually get a land drop almost every single turn. That's what happens when you run like 48% of your deck being lands.
Let me see another 4 mana being tapped
Is that a
for.
escape? Is that a Genesis or
I'm
escape
gonna
to Wilds?
assume that is a Felidar retreat because he's tapping
Is
out
it
4 before making a land drop.
one,
That
two,
makes me
three,
think
four?
it's,
Yeah, you're right.
and that's gonna be Uro being escaped, exactly getting rid of the entire graveyard. Going up to
Which you
18,
can
putting a
afford to be
6/6 on.
aggressive in that regard as far as escaping Uro against this kind of deck because you just want the pressure there and you
Oh yeah,
want
you
that
want the
big
Uro
threat.
down immediately.
Yeah.
And not having a land drop to go with the Felidar retreat, but I don't think you're too unhappy about that right now. That just means
No.
there's another spell in your hand, which is probably good news.
And there's pretty good justification for when they do hit the land drop. You can just go, counter.
Oh,
Put
counters.
counters on stuff.
Give your Uro vigilance.
Ooh, yeah.
Because that is a
Yeah, I
very
don't see
important
a
note about
way.
Felidar Retreat. It gives not only a counter, it also gives your creatures vigilance, which means that you're going to find you're at the point quicker where you can start turning it around because you can get the pressure down without like having your own guard be down. Because that's a problem you sometimes run in when you go against Burn. It's like, when do I start attacking them? Because if they can get a cheap shot back at me, that might actually mean they then get the reach. It's like when you have a Kalidas in play, right? You're playing a red deck, a
Mhm.
black deck, sorry, you've got a Kalidas in play. How often are you actually not attacking with your Kalidas because you can't afford the swing back? And that's not a problem once you got the Vigilance. Now, again, Duke is at 18, going up to 21 as the moment Uro attacks, going up to 22 now because of the live gain. It's looking really grim for Civilian.
Yeah, I think Civilian just needs to scoop, move to the next one. I don't think there's a way they can come back from this one. I mean, they could just be channeling their inner Reed Duke and, playing it out, making sure the opponent has it and they do kill
Let him
them.
have it.
Yeah. But we did see this in the Modern Invitational as Juke continues to cast some spells, do some things. And as what is that? Is that another retreat coming down?
No, that's a 3 fairy, I think.
Oh, okay. The glare is hard for me to see. My apologies.
Bouncing the Viashino. That is
That hmm.
daring. Feel like, you know what? You can
That
have
sounds like
that
a
2
flex.
damage.
Yeah, that sounds like a flex to me. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
kind of
care.
it sounds a little. I mean, to be honest, it's spending 2 mana to deal 2 damage. If Civilian's
Yeah.
gonna do that, that probably means the game is over, right?
Hmm.
I think Civilian can never get to the point again where he has to cast a Viashino Pyromancer because that's just. It doesn't even compensate for 1 Uro attack, right?
No. And like I was saying earlier, when it came to the Modern Invitational, we saw a matchup between Death Shadow and Miracles in round one, and the Miracles player refused to just. I'm sorry, no, the Death Shadow player. The Death Shadow player refused to scoop it up, and the first game went about 25 minutes. And it's like at a certain point you gotta scoop it up so you can go to the next game and not go into time. And they end up drawing because they wasted so much time in game one.
I'm jealous of Duke. She's playing a lot of Magic right now.
I'm
Look at
empathy.
that. Escape to the wild. Like, there's not much for us to say at this point.
It's
This
hard to
is
keep track
Duke.
of. Look at all these cards just on the board.
Yeah, and it's
Look at
Duke
this.
just absolutely burying Civilian. I mean, when the matchup goes like this, it doesn't even look close.
No.
This
Yeah,
was at no point close. I think Duke never went below 15 life.
I think civilians probably questioning and reevaluating themselves at the moment to try to figure out what a keepable hand is against this deck, and I think they're realizing that whatever hand they kept early on is not the hand you keep against this deck.
Adam in the chat, the Adam G, left screen EDH, right screen draft. Like,
yeah, that's yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one. Hey, if only a civilian had access to Cyclonic Rift, just be like, oh, get all that out of there.
but to be honest, you were making a good point too, which is something people might forget. If you're in a losing position and your opponent is playing solitaire, then you can also just take your time and be like, let me have a think now about how am I. I'm going to assume Civilian was already in game 2, right? In your
Yeah.
head, you're already in game 2. This is over. How am I going to sideboard? What type of opening hand do I want to have? What type of start do I want to have? And you just start thinking about these things already because you're staring at your opponent's board, you're dead. But no one's going to be happy if you're sideboarding for 5 minutes, right? But
Yeah,
nobody can blame you if you take that time in game 1.
of course. And you got to make sure, like I said, got to evaluate what you did. Understand, like, okay, maybe that hand, maybe he was on the fence about keeping that hand in the first place, kept it, saw what happened. He's like, okay, that settles that. I don't want a hand with no 1-drop. I think that's what it comes down to with this deck. You need a
Yeah.
hand with 1-drop, and just a nice complementary amount of spells, with like maybe like a 1-drop, a burn spell, a 2-drop, and like a light at the stage, and then
Yeah, you're
lands.
looking at a hand. You almost have to start with a Soulscar Mage or a Swift Spear, preferably
Yeah,
2. Like
Soulscar
turn
Mage is
1,
really important in this
something
matchup.
like turn 1 Soulscar, turn 2 Swift Spear, Wizard's Lightning you, like again really hit the ground running. That's where you want to be in this matchup. And this burn list definitely has the tools to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But you need this 1-drop, you've got 8. You can get there. Preferably you have 2, but you know, if you're playing mono green, like how quote unquote easy is it to get a hand with at least 1 elf, right? You don't have to mulligan
Oh
to
yeah.
4 for that all the time. Yeah, here we see our all-star Soulscar Mage.
Yeah, if you
Really
have
good card. A bit of
if
a
you have a big
sleeper
boy in
for a
front.
long time, even in modern. It's picking up quite some play there now, as far as I know. Already been for a while, but it was slept on a bit, right? Buried underneath the power of Goblin Guide and Monastery Swift Spear, but it has proven itself, especially in Pioneer, being a wizard as opposed to Monastery Swift Spear being a monk, as we see Monastery Swift Spear on the screen, is a very important distinction.
Oh yeah, having access to Wizard's Lightning is, I mean, you get Bolt in Pioneer basically. That's what it comes
Yeah,
down to. When you have
you got
access to
Lightning
Bolt
Bolt.
in Pioneer, it's great. It's a great card. Now looking at, we talked about the sideboarding plan earlier. We're probably seeing Civilian bring in some number of Chain of the Rocks, probably all 4, you would imagine, and then maybe some type of amount of Roiling Vortex just to turn off that life gain. Maybe not all 4, but maybe a couple.
Well, I mean, don't you bring? Why are there 4 in the sideboard if not for a matchup like this? Right? I'm not saying you definitely bring in 4, but I'm just kind of thinking like, what's a matchup where you want 4 that is not this matchup?
I would always say Lotus is that matchup, right?
Is why exactly for the free spell? No.
Do they have? Don't they have free spells? No, they do the Peer in the Abyss thing now. That's right.
Well,
Is
sometimes
there?
they do the omniscience thing, but they draw a million
Yeah,
cards before then, so I'm sure there's a bounce spell to be found somewhere.
yeah. I'm
So
not sure if there's any matchup where that 0 spell clause comes into effect in Pioneer. To be honest.
I mean, if you play against Lotus Field, it does make it so you have to play a bit sloppier, right? Or at least you have to play more longer lines. Right? Your line is a lot less clean if your opponent has 2 Roiling Vortexes to deal with. So that's where I can see it against Lotus. But
Mhm.
even against this deck, I think the life gain denial might be pretty relevant because it still allows you to have the reach, right? We talked about, yeah, your opponent can gain 7 life and that still might not be enough, but it's not hard for this deck to gain 15 life. And if you can
This
put
is
a
where,
stop to that,
yeah, I think this is where Burn kind of misses the opportunity to be able to play cards like Rampage Euphrosidon, because it's a 3-drop. You can't obviously play it with Lurrus.
yeah, 100%.
Because that's just a great card, a nice 3/2 menace threat.
3/3 actually.
Oh, 3/3. You're
And
correct.
yeah, and we see the Soulscar Mage, see turn 1 Soulscar Mage. Turn 1 met with the Magma Spray, though. We talked about this before going into this matchup. The 3 Magma Spray out of the board. Very big in this matchup. Also,
Yep.
kind of fortunate to start on the mountain, which I believe is a one-off. We
Oh, for
see
Juke. I
Shocked
thought for a
in.
second I thought you were talking about burn. I was like, a one of it burn? Amazing. And we're seeing another slower start from burn with just
I
Vishino
mean,
on
the
turn two.
Soulscar Mage would
Nothing.
have made it quick, but the Magma Spray just. I can imagine maybe we were looking at a hand that was like Swift Spear, Lightning Bolt, Swift Spear,
Yeah.
Soulscar Mage, sorry, Wizard's Lightning. And it just wasn't there because the Magma Spray, and now that line might not be worth it. And we're back at turn 2 Vishino.
Yeah. Having that early Magma Spray is really important for Juke. Now, this is the big question. Do they get down a Caryatid?
A Caryatid, or
Are
I
they
mean, the Magma Spray bought you a lot of time if you now start gaining, like doing that life gain stuff, shenanigans with Uro,
do
that might
they
be good
shotgun
enough.
a land, looks like?
More an Uro though, so they end up gaining 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes down to a race of getting a roadblock out or a race to just getting Uro out and escaping it. Because you want that to stick. You want that life gain every single turn.
Yeah, you need to have some sort of roadblock on the board, because the idea with burn is, if I'm playing against a life gainy deck, I want to be able to get more creature combat in. So you need to be able to find a way to combat that creature combat, which is where Sylvan Caryatid normally comes in. But obviously, if you can find like a turn 4 or 5 escaped Uro while gaining 12 life, that probably will do too. Or even Omnath plus like Fable Passage next turn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the dream thing, right? Getting a fetch for Omnath. Be like, ooh, double trigger. And we see a
That's a Boros
Boros
Charm.
Charm coming in, going upstairs.
At the 15, see if there's any follow up. I believe that is the
They're
Battlefield
trying to figure
Forge.
out what they're gonna do. Maybe they're holding onto Wizard's Lightning and just gonna go
Yeah, they're
stacking
thinking
it
like
again.
they're probably thinking, do I want the prowess trigger on this at one point, right?
Hmm.
Because he's taking a damage, so there's a red mana incoming, because Chain to the Rocks wouldn't make sense, and it's also a sorcery speed card. I think that was a Wizard's Lightning.
That was Lightning at face. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're just trying to figure out
so
like, do we hold it
I'm
up?
thinking there's probably like a Swift Spear or a Soul Scar Mage in their hand, and they're like, do I want to get this 4th point of damage out of this at one point? Or do I think I'll have better things to do 2 or 3 turns down the line?
And it's also about being mana efficient on the end step and just being like, okay,
Yeah,
do I
exactly.
want to be able to just curve out next turn?
So taking them to 10.
And this comes back to your original point, Alex. That Magma Spray was massive for Juke
Yeah,
here. This is a completely different game. Juke might actually be dead at this
but
point if that Magma Spray wasn't there.
I mean, here and this is what we're talking about earlier with like where the Rolling Vortex comes in and how you can sort of have these like quickly burn them out. If Civilian now plays a Rolling Vortex, denies Duke the life gain, and then double Boros charms, Duke's dead.
Mm. Yep.
So there's definitely like this is looking much better for burn. And we actually might finally see Duke going to single digit life totals too.
Yeah. They have 4 lands right now. Looks like they have Omnath colors. No, they have a Triumph down there.
3, just putting the Luris in hand.
Hmm.
That's giving Duke a lot of time though this turn.
Yeah. I feel like they have to be very confident in what they have in hand and what they can set up the next turn to be able to sit there and do that.
And that's the
And
Omnath
that
is going to
is
be
a
followed up by
Omnath.
Fable
Yep.
Passage, because that would allow, yeah, Fable Passage, I believe. Or is that just a Shocked in?
I
A
only saw them
little hard
gain
to
life. I
see
didn't see
because
them lose life. And they're just going to pass.
I mean, if
If
you
it's
don't have
Veil
anything to
Passage,
do
you
with the
could
5
just...
mana, you just gain another
Yeah.
4 life.
Yeah.
If your opponent puts a Rolling Vortex on the stack in response, I'll gain another 4. And now the clock's on. So actually, a really good play by Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Holding on to that Fabled Passage. I don't care about the extra mana. I'm going to get there eventually. I need the time.
And
so
Chain of the
cracking the
Rocks
fabled passage now.
on Omnath to make sure that's taken out of the way. And of course, Kraken Fabled Passage to get the value out of the Omnath, get the extra 4 life. Now you're at 18. 18 on turn, what is this, 5 now? Is pretty
That's
big.
pretty comfortable. That's a comfortable life total to be at. 4 cards in hand for... Alright, so this is how I always feel against Burn, because some always have it. I just think one of those 4 cards are 4 Boral's Charm. Like, and you know one is Luris, so there's going to be 3
Yeah.
Boral's Charm, potentially. That's 12. You're still not dead. There's an Eidolon coming down. Might
Interesting.
be reasonable in this matchup, because Duke's not at the big numbers yet, right? So there's probably still going to be some Growth Spirals and Lotus Cobras in her future.
Yep. And the cyborg cards that she brings in is they're all 3 or less.
Aether Gusts, Magma Sprays, like...
So Eidolon's probably a lot better in games 2 and 3 than it was in game 1.
Yes, for sure.
So I can definitely see them keeping it in. Now we're seeing some mana getting tapped over here for Juke. And is that a Felidar Retreat?
I think it's a Felidar Retreat. That is a good way to get blockers without actually casting spells. So
here's a land, trigger Felidar Retreat, probably going to get a
give
cat.
you 2/2. Immediately means the Eidolon is not able to attack. Because you cannot afford to lose that to a cat token. So immediately a fantastic roadblock with a 4 mana spell, not even taking the damage here.
And it feels really bad to just sit there and go, okay, I'm going to smack you, or smack the cat with the burn spell instead of going upstairs, which is a good position to put.
There's
the
Roiling Vortex.
There's definitely a good position for Juke to be in, to force your opponent to make awkward plays to be able to help them get there, which, like I said, you make them stumble a bit, get the roadblocks in the way.
Civilian's actually at the lower life total here. So you're almost clocking yourself with this Roiling Vortex.
We'll see what happens.
Because Duke kind of like has held up exactly the mana for either a Magma Spray or an Aether Gust. So I'm not sure if that's just a good bluff or just... Seems like Duke's thinking about casting a spell. So I'm thinking there's like an Aether Gust or a Magma Spray here.
I think Civilian's asking how many cards in hand too.
Oh, that makes sense too.
So we got 4 cards in hand for Juke. Civilian's trying to consider their options. Looks like they have 3 cards in hand for Civilian. One of them is that Luris.
Yeah, I think so too. The Thekich, or how you pronounce it in chat, 4 mana 2/2 was actually better than a bear there. Yes, because you don't end up taking the 2 damage.
Trying to understand what line of play Civilian is really trying to consider, because this is one of those turning points of the game where you're like, whatever they decide to do here for this play is massively important for how the rest of this game plays out. It looks like they're deciding to just pass. And we're going to see Magma Spray come in.
I'm not sure if I saw something wrong, but it looks like Civilian still has mana on tap, but then they cast Chain to the Rocks and Roiling Vortex?
No, they cast Chain...
Or was it already last turn? Oh yeah, they cast Chain last turn already.
That was last turn.
Is that a Magma Spray?
Yeah. Hitting the Eidolon probably.
Yes, so going down to 12, but now opening up the Growth Spirals and the Caryatids and those type of cards. Especially the Growth Spirals with the Felidar Retreat onto the battlefield is going to like very quickly build you a very powerful board.
And if they get the board presence for 2 or 3 cats or whatever, and they start swinging in, and then they just go Clarion, gain 6 life casually.
Yeah, and even fueling the yard for Omnath here.
Yeah,
that's already 3 spells in yard for Omnath. 3 cards, sorry.
They're close. Here comes another cat as they drop land for turn. These cats are a big deal. These cats are a really big deal. And also the art is no joke on the... I don't know if they're actually using the art from Zendikar, but the art from Zendikar is just this massive, like, I go to the gym 8 times a week kind of looking cat.
Now, I think these are self-made tokens. I believe they are actual pictures of cats.
They're cute. They're cute.
Oh,
we get word that it's actually
we've got word it's actually Duke's cat.
That's adorable.
I mean,
I'm still partial to the beefy cat.
I mean, we might still get this like tonight. If you're playing Magic over a webcam, you do get the occasional cat cameo. Like where you're just playing with someone and their cat just walks over the table.
Hey, cats do what they want. They're great.
Suddenly this giant trampler comes over your board.
Hey, classification personified real life.
Yeah,
You love to see it.
that's actually flavorful.
Wild Slash coming in, hitting a cat.
Getting
See,
rid
that's
of
what I
the
was talking
cat.
about. It feels bad to do that as the
I
burn
mean,
player.
this enables the Pyromancer and potentially like a Swift Spear coming down. So your Wild Slash is actually converting into 3 damage, kind
Yeah,
of. Like it's wonky math, but the math's there.
that's like arguing for Thoughtseize against burn because you take away their 3 mana burn or their 3 burn spell or 3 damage
Yeah,
light
so
spell.
you're
I'm
gaining
sorry.
1 life,
There you go. Cool. Thoughtseize is great in burn. You heard it here first.
and you hear it here last because nobody agrees, and they
I've met
shouldn't.
players with that mindset.
It's the
Happy.
first card you board out.
It is. It is. Now, did civilians still trying to figure out what they're doing, right?
Yeah, so attacking with the Pyromancer, being met with an Aether Gust.
Hmm. Now,
So
do
where
they
is it
fire
gonna
off
go?
Wizard's Lightning if they have it in hand?
Depending on if you have a light up the stage, otherwise I don't see why you would. Sadly, we can't see where the Pyromancer is gonna go, but I'll have a safe guess: bottom.
Yeah, I don't think you keep that on top.
If your opponent's getting 2/2s every time they play a land, you do not want a 2-mana 2/1.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're really thinking about it, and it goes to the bottom. So I'm not sure what's in hand to make them even consider keeping it on top. Now, do they have anything else to do, or are they just going to pass? I think they're just going to pass, as we see a
Another one coming down on the Roiling Vortex. That
Vortex.
means I believe there is 5 cards in the graveyard to escape Uro, and it's gonna gain the 3 life.
Yeah.
And Civilian's gonna have to literally tap out next turn by playing the Vortex and holding up the mana to stop that life gain, which you're not winning that. This looks kind of over to me. Because
Total
again,
Retreat is
Civilian
a
is
nice
also
card.
just at 11, right?
Yeah.
Being attacked at 9 potentially by a cat, staring down a 6/6, which could be a 7/7 with a land drop or an 8/8.
Here comes Uro. Up to
Papa Zone.
16.
Get the clock in with the cat, right? Getting the quote unquote free 3 damage.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Though to be honest, I hardly think it matters at this point.
They could just be playing it safe. Like I'd rather get the extra body just to make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we have the blockers available.
Yeah, true, but if you give the counters and the vigilance, you have the blocker too.
True. True.
So I'm thinking of like what gets the game over quicker. Because also in the very fringe situation where they have 2/3 mana burn spells, that wouldn't kill your arrow. But again, these sound like losing lines, right?
Yeah, I mean this is also definitely the kind of
Yeah, I think
matchup where you
Civilian's
don't have to worry
realizing
about.
like I can't even play a Roiling Vortex because I'll literally die to damage.
Yeah,
Is being played,
and he plays it anyway.
and
You gotta have a spell
Chain
to
to
kill
the
someone, right?
Rocks for the
Or
Euro.
that's big.
Those are some
That
good
keeps him
Chain to the
alive.
Rocks. That is a
Yeah.
powerful mountain. Imagine cleansing Wildfire here, and your opponent gets an Euro and an Omnath back.
Cry. Would cry.
Yeah.
You know, Chain of the Rocks was printed in
I'll be honest,
2020.
it kind of defeats the purpose of Chain to the Rocks, because isn't the idea that you're left alone on the rocks, but you're here together?
Yeah, but if you destroy the rock.
No, but I mean, like
Capture both
currently
of them.
they're together on the same mountain, which kind of defeats the purpose of the card, right? I suppose a mountain can be so large you could just be on either side, right?
To be fair, Uro and Omnath are also in their own right very large. So I'm not sure what
Yeah, but I
chain
mean,
keeps them to a mountain.
if
If we're gonna argue semantics
yeah,
over the flavor of Chain of the Rocks, I can
yeah,
throw that at you
true,
too. They're
true.
pretty big boys.
They're kind of beefy, aren't they? Gonna need a lot of chains for that.
It's Elspeth and Clock. What's the god from Theros that are basically the ones that are locking them away? Elspeth and Clothis. They're the ones chaining them to the rock. There you go. We figured out the mystery.
Oh yeah, Clothis has chains too, right? Some of the art isn't there the art where like Fury is something where she's just straight up angry and that's it.
She is super angry.
She is like absolutely livid.
I love that.
And
that
our
lore.
behind the scenes person knows their draft cards. Fury's Rise. Are they supposed to be with? I don't know if they're chains, but I suppose if someone would like wrap those around your arm, you would stay in place. So I guess they serve the same purpose.
Okay, but Omnath has Cheeto fingers. Can you really beat the Cheeto fingers?
I mean, this looks like they would cut them off clean. It's like, Omnath, would you like to keep your Cheeto fingers?
I imagine they grow back. And did we
Ugin?
just see
Oh
Ugin
yeah,
get
just
dropped?
yeah,
Yeah,
because
just
it's
casual.
like no, it's Ugin. It's super like fitting. You're playing against a burn player, and you end up by playing an 8 mana lightning bolt for lethal. Just you're at 2,
Oh
Ugin,
man.
boom.
Yeah, that the matchup definitely didn't go. I mean, you're not too surprised by the results, but you're also kind of like you feel like Burn had a better chance of what happened. But when you stumble against a deck that can gain so much life and just be able to play super big things and go so over top of you. Speaking of being chained to mountains, 4-color Omnath when it goes off is literally a mountain
Oh
standing in front of you.
yeah, when it goes off, it looks like it's not even close, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at this match. If you would just look at this match, and you'd ask someone like, "Yeah, how do you think the matchup is Burn versus 4-color Omnath?" They're like, "Burn can never win." Right? If you look at this set of 2 games alone. Because once it goes off, if you don't get the quick start in, which again, the magma sprays out of the board, very good call, in my opinion. Because we were talking about on the cast too, and we've heard other people talk about it. Burn was definitely exploiting. But let's talk about go back to Cassidas.
Yeah, Burn it
There we
was
are.
not the best showing for Burn.
Welcome back to the Cassidas, everyone.
Hey, we're back. We got Supreme Verdict behind us. Great. Now, probably want to go ahead and get the gears going for getting Juke in here to talk with her, see how she felt about the matchup and what her thoughts were of the sideboard and things like that. So while we're waiting on that, Alex, any thoughts you have for the Burn player moving forward? Do you think they can salvage this and still come back to table 1?
Oh, I mean, Burn is a great deck. Like, I could totally imagine Burn just straight up winning the next 2 matches and still ending on a 2-1 record. It's gonna be hard to like take down the whole thing though, because kind of the nature of Swiss, right? You lost your first match 2-0, which tends to like give you really bad tiebreakers once you start like tying with people. Depending on how well Duke does. But your performance is gonna be very based on Duke, right? Because if Duke loses her next 2 games, then for terms of standings, you're going to be like, you lost 2-0 to someone who ended up going 1-2, which means like that has like a really negative influence on your standings. So if you lose your first match 2-0, it's going to be very hard to win the whole thing. Everything's going to have to fall into place perfectly for you. But I think mathematically, not always my strongest point, there is a way out of here. So definitely, gonna keep slinging those burn spells, get into 2-0 wins, and see where it takes you, right? You're not out yet.
And speaking of the devil herself, Juke, you're here on the monstrous 4-color Omnath, everyone's favorite deck to play against, going against the other favorite of the format being Burn. We, early on, when we were going over the decks and seeing, who's favored, who's not, we were giving a slight edge to Burn just because in a lot of cases they can overcome the minimal life gain just by having it. But they definitely did not have it there. It was not even close. I don't think any of the games were close. Game 2 was, you got down to 10 and that's about it.
Yeah, well, so I think the biggest thing that I think made a difference in a sense of so I think Burn definitely is favored. I was listening to like you guys talking about it before. When once the match started, I turned it off, but I was kind of just listening to the pregame and I wanted to see what you guys had to say. And pretty much you guys were spot on. Burn generally is a 55-45 matchup for the most part in favor of Burn. But also Burn as a deck is literally just a deck based on probability. It's you've heard the Burn's a combo deck. It's 7 bolts. It's kind of just like your goal is to, you're not gonna once a Rolling Vortex resolves, I mean, like, I kind of got lucky because I happened to see like two of my, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 of my 3 Ether Gusts, but like, I got really, really, really lucky with my opener game 2. So my opening hand game 2 was like Basic Mountain. So it was basic. It was like 3 lands, I think. It was Basic Mountain. It was the tap Jeskai lands and some other land. I think it was Forest. And then the rest of it was like Ether Gust, Magma Spray, Uro. And I'm just like, well, I mean, if I could literally pick a 7-card hand, I think this would be it. Like, and then I casually top decked into like a second Ether Gust and then like a second Magma Spray, and I'm just like, well,
But I mean, it does also speak to your sideboarding, right? You're saying like, yeah, I got lucky with the opening hand, but we talked in the past about how Burn is definitely the type of deck that just exploits all these slow decks, thinking 3 mana sweepers are good enough. And your sideboard, 3 Ether Gust, 3 Magma Spray, you are ready for this type of deck.
So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even really like the Magma Sprays. I mostly copied it off of like the 5.0 lists on Moto, because I was like, oh, I don't know, there seems like there could be better things. But then I started trying it and testing, and I'm like, okay, no, I can see why they're playing this now, because Magma Spray is particularly good against Lurrus Burn. It hits every single one of their creatures, as far as I can tell. I'm pretty sure it hits every single one of their creatures, and it exiles them so Lurrus can't get them back. So like that's extremely relevant, and I'm like I said, I full well expected to lose this match entirely. Like the moment I was like, okay, I'm on camera, which is already going to make me nervous, and I'm up against arguably my worst matchup on the field, I was like, there's no way I'm winning this. But I mean,
I think it's slight retribution for last Invitational, where you playing Spirits and you had like the worst draw that I've ever seen the deck have.
Yeah, you know what?
So...
I'm okay with that, because I was even talking to myself. I'm just like, you know, if I'm gonna be on camera again, I'm gonna make a fool out of myself again. I was so nervous, and I'm just like, oh well, maybe I'll just literally top deck the nuts both games.
I mean, in game 1, when you used Teferi to bounce the Viashio Pyromancer, Brad was almost like, is she just flexing?
I mean, no, it was more so, I in that particular instance, I was more so just, that's not the haste threat. I know you're gonna deal me 2 damage, but like, I'm outracing 2 damage at this point easily.
Yeah.
2 damage is fine. Like, I was at the point where I was gaining 4 life a turn. Like, it was fairly easy to outdo that once, you know. But I did get extremely lucky in the context of, you know, top decking 2 of my Ether Gusts that, or like, I didn't even think it might have been 3. I don't know. But the fact that I was able to take care of a threat on 1, and then tap out on 2, they play a threat, sure, I'll take 2. And then I'm just like, cool, Ether Gust, Uro, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, finally a Whirling Vortex. And it's funny, because Civilian even said, he's like, finally a Whirling Vortex, right? So he top-decked it. And so he plays it, and I'm just like, okay, well, I think I can survive this for a turn. He attacks me, whatever, and I'm like, okay, Ether Gust at your end step, Uro. And then just, like, the game is effectively over at that point.
Yeah.
Because, like, even if you play the Whirling Vortex, that's fine. I just need a 6/6. 6/6 can block everything in your deck easily. And the life gain is negligible at that point. And plus, he was stuck on 3 lands almost the entire game, so if he's taking a mana off for Roiling Vortex on both my turn and his turn, that's, like, I'm okay with that. Like, sure.
Yeah, it's time walking in.
Exactly, it's like, sure, pay 2 mana an entire turn cycle to stop me from gaining life. I'm just gonna develop my board and just beat you down instead of outracing you with life, so...
Yeah,
I
mean,
so you go first,
go
Brad.
ahead, Alex. We're both so polite. I was gonna say, yeah, it just comes down to you know, looking at the matchup last time around when it came to Boros versus Epic when he was on Rakdos Pyromancer. The Titans are good. The Titans are very good in this matchup.
They are. I mean, the Titans are good in general,
and...
but
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was. I thought it was really funny when I was looking at the deck lists. You know, once everybody submitted, I'm like, am I the only one who registered Uro? Like, I don't. It just. I know this is like.
I think nobody registered Croxa either. You're the only person with a Titan in their deck.
Yeah, I genuinely don't understand that. I guess it's me just actually genuinely trying to spike the tournament, but I don't know. I feel like if you want to win a tournament like this, you bring, you know...
You bring a Titan.
Exactly. It doesn't really matter which one, just bring one of them, and preferably 4 of that one. So...
It's only a matter of time before someone plays...
4-color Titan tribal.
Yeah, you just start turn 1 and you go unclaimed territory and you name Elder.
It's
And
yeah.
I
might
hate
even be able
everything
to
about that
splash.
sentence.
You might even be able to splash some of the dinosaurs in there.
Understandable, and you know what? I'm excited for that dinosaur list, and I'm hoping I didn't get to see who won other matches, but one of the matches that I'm hoping to play against is dinos because I think that'll just be really fun. So,
And what do you think?
Well,
So
you-
obviously, yeah, because everybody loves to see the dinosaur deck.
of course, it's
Um,
dinos.
What's a deck that you don't want to see in the rest of the field in terms of your matchup? Like I'm seeing like control decks with 4 Dovin's Veto in the main.
Yeah. Well, so control decks in general, I don't think I'm as scared of. I mean, if you would have asked me before the tournament, I would have said Loris Burn is my worst matchup.
Good
I
to
think
get that out
aside
of the
from
way.
that, Feather is also, I think, a really bad matchup, or at least it's definitely not favorable. But I think the blue-white approach list is fairly favored. I think the Esper control list is semi-favored. I think it's not as favored as blue-white control because the thing is, I mean, like if I resolve a Teferi on 3, especially against blue-white or like, I mean, like this is what it comes down to. I'm playing 4-color permanent soup. Like I am literally just playing 4-color best cards in Pioneer. So like, it's kind of just like, I'm gonna play Teferi if I can play Teferi. So if I resolve a Teferi, not to mention I bring in the 4th, games 2 and 3 if there's a 3, and it's just like, I feel like I have Mystical Disputes, like, I think those control lists, Dovin's Veto's dead if I have a Teferi. Most of those cards are dead if I have a Teferi. I think given the worst matchup left in the field, I think it's Feather. I think a close second is the Possibility Storm Rule.
Yeah, because you're sort of like a lot of your deck is just kind of doing your thing and slamming your permanents, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they just blow you up.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but like if you're like looking at the list, I have like a grand total of 3 counter spells and they're Mystical Disputes. That's it. So like if they successfully resolve a Possibility Storm, I can Ether Gust it, but by the time they resolve it, Ether Gust probably won't be an Ether Gust. So,
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of the other matchups and what we want to see, there is a chance that you will be playing against dinos because we have 2 other tables reporting. Azorius Spirits has taken down Approach 2-0, and then we have dinos taking down Possibility Storm 2-1. So the Gruul versus Gruul matchup we were all excited about.
Gruul
ended up
won.
going to Gruul. Yeah.
Well,
so now we're just simply waiting on one more.
Possibility Storm is technically Teamer, but
fair.
Yeah, but it's
Gruul. It's
small.
Gruul.
Yeah.
But like
It's Gruul
in
and
the
Spirit, and that's all that matters.
yeah.
How do you feel about your spirit matchups?
Gruul in Spirits just feels like as long as you scream and hit things hard, you're Gruul in Spirits.
Fair. Did you ask me what my Spirits matchup was like?
How do you feel about it? Yeah, how do you feel about going against spirits?
So I think game 1, it's kind of like, I want to say 50-50. I think it's more closer to like 55-45 in favor of spirits. But game 2, given the sideboard configurations, I think it's 70-30 on me. Just because of the sideboard lineups, because I have so much that I can bring in against spirits. Like, I have Dispute, I'm just looking. So, like, I literally have my sideboard right now. 3 Magma Sprays, Deafening Clarions, it's like, Mystical Disputes, Teferi. Teferi on 3 against spirits, if it doesn't get quellered or Lofty Denial, that's kind of just game. Like
it comes down to who's on the play. So yeah,
exactly. That's why, like, game 1, if I can resolve it to Teferi and have it stick for 1 turn, I think I've effectively won. Game 2 and 3, post sideboard, I think I just, based on the way the sideboards are built, he has a good bit of sideboard stuff, but not a lot relevant to me in particular. Whereas I'm bringing in, like, 7 cards to beat spirits in particular? So I think that based on sideboard equity alone, I'm fairly favored at least post board. But I mean, I've been wrong before, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the spirits list right now, which I'm sure we'll probably take a look at it at some point in this tournament. A Skyclave Apparition on the board and 2 Aether Gusts. That's about all I see coming in. Well, actually, Deafening Silence makes sense.
Yeah, Deafening Silence I think is a sneaky thing to bring in. I think it is relevant, but I think it also depends entirely on what kind of draw I have. Because Deafening Silence, sure, it shuts down the multiple non-creature spells, but like a lot of the times I'm doing all my stuff based off like lands and creatures.
Yeah, I doubt you'd bring it in though.
I think you do bring it in just to take out things that aren't as relevant. I mean, I don't really know what that would be, but like.
I mean, without trying to like construct this epic sideboarding here, I do get the idea. Like, you do need just an X amount of gas.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Spirits. I played
Deafening
Spirits
Silence doesn't actually. Yeah, so Deafening Silence doesn't actually like progress the board in any way.
Yeah, no, I mean like Deafening Silence I think is way more for like Lotus Field, but like I think that Deafening Silence is okay depending on my draw, but like Spirits is literally just the ultimate like board presence deck. The more you add to the board, the more powerful your stuff is. So one timely board wipe or kill of a relevant creature, and then you're set back like 3 turns worth. So, yeah.
Well, you definitely had a great showing against Burn. That's the important thing. You took down the big bad. You took down the scary threat that you were afraid of coming to the tournament. You still had some PTSD flashbacks from the last Invitational, so you conquered it. You got past it. That's the big thing, right?
Yeah. You know what?
You might be on table 1 again.
Oh,
you won 2-0.
Oh God, I
don't know for sure, but there is a chance you're table 1 again.
I mean, if I am, so be it. If I'm not, also so be it. Hey,
you did great in this one. You'll be fine.
I sure hope so.
You're playing a good deck. You're piloting it well.
All right. Now we're still waiting on the last matchup, which I believe is let's see, Boros Feather versus Esper Control is the last matchup. So we're still trying
that
to see.
That match going long tends to not bode well for Feather.
Yeah, I agree.
You want me to hop out or?
But yeah, let's go ahead and just start talking about some other decks real quick. Juke, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for hopping in. Good luck on your next match. Hopefully you are favored.
I sure hope so, and even if I'm not, I hope I spike it like I did this one. So.
Exactly. Good luck, buddy.
Of course. Thanks for having me on. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Right, so while we have Spirits up, so about Spirits. What do you like about the deck?
I like this build in particular. Again, it is very clean, which I'm always a fan of. And it's the Watcher of the Spheres version, which I do personally like. 4 Watcher of the Spheres makes it a very fast deck. One thing that does surprise me is the fact that, as we just see come in, that Esper Control wins 2-1. So that means Boros Feather is probably not going to be a deck that Duke's going to have to play against next round. So I'm sure she's very happy about that. But quickly talking about Spirits, one card that is really missing in this deck that you would really expect to see in Spirits, there are 0 copies of Nabogast Herald in this deck.
Yes.
And that is a card that I'm very surprised about being a 0 off.
I actually spoke with Epic briefly about his deck choice prior to this Invitational, and that was the first thing I asked. It was like, why no Shacklegeist, why no Nebelgast? And he flat out said, I was not anticipating a creature meta at all. I was anticipating heavy control, so I leaned heavy to favor against control. So I understand his reasoning. I get it. And we'll see if it works out for him. We're definitely seeing a nice
good meta
mixture.
call in the idea of like, if you think you're going to go into that type of meta, it is the correct call to build your deck this way. And he's kind of right. There are a lot of control-y, slowish decks. Like, Nabogast Herald to tap down Uro is cute, but not really what you want to be doing. So I can see where it's coming from. And you have Skyclave Apparition now. So you do have a way to deal with the cards that you were historically tapping down and more, like Omnath.
Yep. And one thing to note, they 2-0'd approach. They 2-0'd a control deck, so they seem to have their deck perfectly.
Don't want the Nabogast Herald there.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how they go forward. I think this is a matter of like, okay, you see the other deck list, they all got published, and you see a handful of control-y, some slower decks, but there are a couple creature decks, or 4. About half the field is creature decks. So you hope you dodge those matchups, right? You hope you just kind of like, I go blue-white control, Esper Control, and then like 4-color Omnath is your last matchup. I think that's the dream. So
also, I'm a little surprised in this deck by seeing unclaimed territory. Because if you play Watcher of the Sphere, you're gonna have to either name Bird or Wizard in order to play that on turn 2.
That's awkward, yeah.
So
That is
I'm a
awkward.
little surprised. Like, couldn't this be just like more mana confluence? Don't you want like a basic planes in there? Like, I'm a little surprised by the
Yeah.
include.
I mean, Port Town is a garbage card, so I am not surprised by not including that one. I don't
And
see
no
it in copies at all.
Azorius pathway yet, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, Kaldheim
Like,
would definitely
obviously,
help in that
the
regard.
pathways come out and you swap the 2 territories and the 2 mana confluence for 4 pathways, and you're very happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, a part of me would have just gone like, yeah, let's just do 4 mana confluence at this point. if you're
Right,
if
and we're
you're
just
that,
being informed together with
confident
everybody in the
about it.
chat what our feature match is going to be for the next round, which is going to be the Spirits list that we are currently looking at against the Omnath list that we just saw being played. So, Brad, thoughts?
Whoever wins this match wins the tournament. I'm saying it right now. Whoever wins out of these 2 decks, right here, right now, wins the tournament. Because let's see, you're that means table 2 is gonna be probably
That's
Dinos
Esper
and
versus
Esper. Oh, maybe. If it's Dinos versus Esper, ooh, actually, if I'll make a quick addendum. If it's Dinos versus Esper, I'm giving the edge to Dinos, hands down, which means we'll have a Dinos versus one of these 2 in table 1 for the finals. In which case, do I dare say Dinos wins it?
I mean, Dinos looks really good against this deck. Because it is
that
definitely
is
faster.
scary. Yeah, that is a
So-
scary deck.
As we are quickly being
we're
swapped
gone.
out for chat.
Hey,
We were chat.
that's us.
But yeah, so I mean the road for Dinos is clear. But
Yes.
talking about this matchup in particular, I agree with the idea that the person who wins this has a very good shot at winning the tournament. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If someone, because they both 2-0'd their first round, if one of them 2-0's this one, your tiebreakers are also really good. So whoever 2-0's this has a really good shot at the tournament as well.
All right, so we're trying to just clear some stuff up on the back end, but more weight on that. Let's just keep talking about this deck. Yeah, I agree.
As I
And
believe
this
we
i-
will be going into the poll screen for a moment to fix some on-screen issues, but we'll keep chatting.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I want to say that Spirits might again. It's kind of the same as Burn, though. You have to have it. But I feel like Spirits might be favored here just because you have the ability to counter some stuff and be like, no. If
Yeah, I like
Spirits gets that
Spirits.
tempo. Yeah, Spirits gets that tempo played down and just kind of goes off. I feel pretty confident about their chances in this matchup. Epic is a fantastic pilot. Obviously, he won the last Invitational. He finished first place in the entire Pioneer standings for the awards this season. And we finished first place in the season prior to the last Invitational. Constantly a player, constantly switching decks. Is the big Enchantress player, is great with that pet deck, loves that deck more than anything. By the way, I built his mana base. Just wanna throw it out there. It was me. Hello. And then he switched Big Brain to Rakdos Pyromancer and caught everyone off guard. There was about half the field in that Invitational that they all brought in extra hate for the enchantments, and all of a sudden he's just showing up with no enchantments, and so he takes down, that Invitational, featuring, like we said earlier, one of the best games of Magic we've ever seen when he was matched up against Boros Burn. Which was that Civilian as well that time around?
No, I don't think it was.
Who was on Boros Burn that Invitational? I feel
I'm
like I
not
can't remember.
sure, but I definitely remember not seeing the squid playmat.
They could have had a different one. It was like this big meme playmat, but whatever, not
Yeah.
important. Pyromancer was great. Epic is a great pilot, so we'll see them continue to do well on this, and I will not be surprised to see them win it again,
Yeah,
or at the very least be there again.
I think the great thing for spirits in this matchup is the fact that you can develop your board at instant speed, so you can hold up the counter spells, which is a very powerful thing here. And if your opponent is doing like Uros without escaping them, Grove Spirals, Lotus Cobras, you don't really care, right? You want to counter the actual threat, right? And in that sense, being a ramp deck, there is like 30 lands, 20 ramp spells, and 10 payoffs. So all you have to do is counter the payoff. And
as long as you counter the payoff, you're golden. You just sit there going like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I got this cool board. And again, Juke's sideboard plan, like they were saying when we were talking about this spirit matchup when they were in the interview, seems solid, seems good. They are very confident in what they're going to be doing as far as games 2 and 3. You heard it from her first. A 45-55 disadvantage game 1 to spirits, but a 70-30 favor in their swing games 2 and 3. And see right here, we have Epic versus Juke Wall on table 1. And we got Shed versus Immortal Sun. So that is Esper Control versus Dinos.
Versus Dinos.
So, yeah, that. I want to talk about the second matchup real quick with Dinos and Esper Control. You got to give it to Dinos. I don't see how Esper is just how they can be favored.
No, because we see Esper putting up the decks. The decks have been featured in chat. They were posted a while back. I believe you can do exclamation point deck lists, and they will.
Let's pull up Esper real quick.
All be posted. Yeah, we could quickly pull up the Esper list.
We got some time, just like Mr. Incredible does.
So we'll just start talking about it. See if the list can be pulled up. Yeah, as it is there. Right, so we're seeing a lot of cards that against dinosaurs are probably not great cards to have. We see 4 copies of Dovin's Veto, 4 copies of Thought Erasure, 4 copies of Thoughtseize, only 1 Trial of Ambition, 1 Omen of the Sun. Well, they're not going to do very well if they're being trampled over. Oath of Kaya, which hardly kills anything in the deck. So, for Supreme Verdict, though.
Supreme Verdict is big.
It's going to be important for Immortal Sun to be able to play around that. Now, granted, the fact that Immortal Sun has played so much Dinos already for such a long time, they've probably got it down to a T.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
And then there's Regitor Alpha.
Oh, yeah.
That card is a beater. You tap out for your Supreme Verdict, and they just go, sure, 5 mana, 8 power, hit you for 4. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and by turn 4 for the Esper player, you could just easily just be chilling and saying like, I'm about to die, gotta sweep the board, and then you drop this extra 8 power and they die. Come turn 5.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not too out of the question. Obviously,
it's gonna be like hard mulling into Supreme Verdict, and hopefully, Immortal Sun runs out of gas.
Yeah. But the match we will be watching, of course, is
on your screen right now.
4-color Omnath on the left, same as last time. Sir Epic on Azorius Spirits. Now, I played Azorius Spirits pretty early on into the format. The flip-flop between Azorius and Bant for Coco. I always liked the Coco version a bit more. But one card I miss from Blue-White Spirits is Curious Obsession. I thought that was such a fun card to play to kind of mirror the old standard
different deck though.
Tempo.
Now, granted, in Blue-White, you can now get the one from Theros that gives lifelink.
Oh, that's right. The 2-mana one. That's a good one.
Yeah, another point that you made in chat
me...
too. Quickly, last thing to touch on the dinos. It has Ronas.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to enable Ronas if half your deck has 4 power. So
yeah. Yeah, Dinos feel so good. I think we're gonna see Dinos in the finals.
I'm getting kind of hyped for Dinos in the finals.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Yeah, I am too.
But it's gonna have to fight through a control player, which can always you have these control matches where you just have it all, and it just feels hopeless.
Yeah, counter, sweep it, drop big Teferi, draw a card, untap, counter your next thing, and keep going. Narset, found your other answer, another sweeper. We've all been there. We've all had those matches when we're playing the fun creature deck, and we're like, yeah, I'm just gonna go sideways, kill them, and they're like, no, not allowed, not allowed here, no fun.
So let's see what's going to happen here. So I don't know who's on the play. We'll see that when start. But what type of opening hand are you looking at? Both sides, Brad. What do you think you want to start off with?
Starting with Juke, you want to accelerate as fast as humanly possible. I'm looking for a hand that has Lotus Cobra, maybe a Carotid as well is fine too. Growth Spirals, Uros. You want everything you possibly can. Just go, I need all the lands, and you just want to draw into your big finisher. That's how you got to go from there.
I think an important one you're pointing out is Lotus Cobra, which we talked about wasn't very good in the other matchup. Might be great here.
Oh yeah, there's spirits aren't going. What are they going to do? Skyclave Apparition it? You want to save that for Uro and Omnath. So, and we're seeing Juke start off with a Stomping Ground and then a Mana Confluence to start off for spirits.
But not making that first land drop. Not making the first creature. Sorry, no turn 1 play.
Yeah, and they
Plays
weren't even
unclaimed
holding
territory.
it up for the what's it called? For the flashy pirate boy.
No.
But we have another flashy boy coming in, and that's Rattle Chain, right?
In response. Yeah, that's Rattle Chain.
There's Growth Spiral. That's exactly what you want.
I'm gonna assume that unclaimed territory is neither on bird nor wizard.
Yeah, I would hope it's on spirit. That just feels so bad. That is an interesting point you brought up. It makes it really awkward for that owl coming in,
especially because there's 4.
Was there 4? I thought there was only 2.
There's 4 Watcher. No, but there's 4 Watcher of the Sphere.
Oh, yes, so, you're correct. You're right. Yeah.
All right, so there's 2 damage coming in. But this is gonna. This sounds like a similar start, right? Your opponent has no turn 1 play, plays a turn 2 power creature on turn 2.
Yeah, and there's some validity to if you go turn 1 like Mausoleum Wander and they play Growth Spiral and you just go no. That's a big play. I think that's a big thing to have up your arsenal.
Yeah. So I see a land being played by Duke and the pass flashing an Empyrean Eagle. That is a very nice card to flash in right now.
Is that a Growth Spiral in response?
Yeah, again a Growth Spiral in response. So again, Duke getting the lands down though quick. Right, that takes him up to 5. Going to go up to 6 lands next turn. But the Imperial Eagle's going to put down a nice clock, and definitely like gets rid of some of the awkwardness that spirits can have, where sometimes they have to like flash in a spell queller with no spell on the stack just to keep the clock going. But Imperial Eagle's perfect here.
Now, Epic is in a position where you're looking at Juke. They have all the lands that you're just saying. They have access to some potentially big spells. Now, you are hoping for Epic's case, they have Lofty Denial in hand. Spell Queller does not do it. They're not going to cast anything that's 4 mana or less. And is that a
Sylvan Carotid?
Nice.
So cool. See if a response coming out here, because funnily enough, we're actually almost at the point where Lofty Denial isn't good enough because it's unless they pay 4.
Yeah.
And next turn, we're looking at Duke having 9 mana. That means they could play an Escape to the Wilds and pay the 4.
Yeah, that's.
But
and you're hoping
flashing in another Lord. Again, nothing dead to flash in, just more power. This is looking like a 2-turn clock, isn't it? Wait. He's swinging in for...
Yeah, so 3, 7...
That's 10.
11?
I think it's... No, I think it's. I think we're both got it wrong. It's 9.
We're both adding too much.
It's 10. It's 11. No, it's 9. But still,
what a headache spirits are.
5. It's still a 2-turn clock, whether or not it's 4 over lethal or 7 over lethal.
Omnath doesn't cut it here for Juke. They need
a lot of mana.
Something big.
Genesis Ultimatum and the Lofty Denial for game.
There it is. So yeah, that's what I was saying. You need a Lofty Denial in hand and hope they just go into something way too big and you're good to go. So that's what we want to see from Spirits. Now, Spirits was on the play, correct? That game?
Yes.
That's the difference. If that role is reversed,
there's a lot of boarding here. If you Magma Spray, where he went for the Growth Spiral, right? So the Rattle Chain comes down. In response, you go Growth Spiral, whatever. If you go Growth Spiral, like Mountain, Rattle Chain resolves, Magma Spray it, all these lords lose flash. And
Yeah.
either he's going to have to tap out on his turn. I mean, Sir Epic's going to have to tap out on his turn. And then a card like Genesis Ultimatum can just happen. Or you're not building your board and Duke's just playing lands. And if you're both passing back and forth playing lands, that's definitely favoring the 4-color Omnath player.
Yeah, Spirits, like I said, they're in a really good position if they can get the pressure on like they did and hold up good counter magic, which is Lofty Denial in this case. And now they have the chance to bring in Mystical Dispute, which I love bringing a Mystical Dispute here because countering their early blue stuff, like Growth Spiral, that's actually a big deal. If you go, let's say, like turn 2, you like say turn 1 you flashed in a pirate, right? And then turn 2 you have someone else to flash in, or you can just go Mystical Dispute, stop your Growth Spiral, hold up on their tempo, bring it back in your favor. You have the body on board to keep swinging in and eventually getting wards down and holding up like, okay, I have 1 mana for this, 1 mana for this. And then you get to Lofty Denial territory. Mystical Dispute is going to be huge in this matchup. Maybe not for the big things late game. That's not where you want it. The same issue you run into with Lofty Denial. But early game, you bring Mystical Dispute for their Teferi that they're definitely bringing in, so they have 4 of. You're using Mystical Dispute for their Growth Spirals, for their Uros even. Anything that accelerates them, you tell them no. Not allowed. Not in my house. And that's where Epic will win this game if he can have those spells early on to deny Juke the ability to pull ahead. Because this is a tempo matchup. It seems weird, but this is straight up who has the better tempo, who gets further ahead, who gets the board presence, and who just has the stuff to say no.
Yeah, it's especially like even tempo in the sense of like the moment if Duke can get a big spell underneath whatever Sir Epic's doing, that like immediately flips the game on his head.
Yeah.
Like imagine, I mean, even like, I mean, again, the joke is they always have it, but obviously they don't. Like Duke just had like that Hail Mary like slam the Genesis Ultimatum. If that resolved, that might have immediately won him the game. Right? And that's like
Yeah.
the knife's edge that this entire matchup balances on. But that pressure is for a large part coming from Duke's side. Right? Duke has the haymakers that immediately win a game. And Sir Epic doesn't. So it is up to Sir Epic to get this game over with.
And that's why he's playing a tempo deck. You're there to keep the tempo in your favor and not get it skewed in any way, shape, or form. That's the important part. And we talked about it just a few minutes ago. If that was flipped around, where you have Juke and you have her going first, as opposed to Epic, you have the extra mana to pay for the Lofty Denial there on that Genesis Ultimatum. Completely different game. So very important, not only for winning that game 1. I mean, anytime you steal game 1 is massive, especially if Juke's theory holds up, saying she has a 70-30 advantage games 2 and 3. Then you're definitely happy if you're Epic that you got game 1 in there to be able to bring in your stuff to also say, no, I don't want you to play Magic today.
Yeah, for sure.
We saw it against Burn. Juke's sitting there playing solitaire for a few minutes going, yeah, I have this, I got this, I got this. Look at all these cards. This entire mat, you can't even see what the art is anymore. It's just cards. That's all it is. We just got cards. And then Burn's in there with 3 lands and a Viashina Pyromancer saying, yeah, those are cards. You got cards.
Yeah, you played more cards off the top of your deck this turn than I've played cards in this match.
That's a horrible feels bad. Now, after sideboarding, I'm going to ask you the same question you asked me. Does anything change in terms of what hands you want to keep and what hands you want to go with from either side?
I think mostly from Duke's side. Like because Duke just almost like becomes like a different type of deck. Right? Suddenly, oh, I have counters now. I have removal now. Right? I'm suddenly gonna have to play an interactive match rather than just slam threats until I win. Where Sir Epic, I think, is gonna play a very similar type of match. Like, yeah, there's more counter magic in, but there already was counter magic in. So it's just gonna be like more of what you already have. So you're effectively just like Epic just upgraded their deck effectively. Where Duke definitely changed hers. So Duke's going to be looking at very different opening hands, trying to get opening hands like we saw in game 2 in our last match. Magma Sprays, in this case, no Ether Gust, but Mystical Disputes. Like that sort of hand you're going to have to be looking at in order to just not be run over. And to match the fact that Epic now has a better deck. Because that's a very important thing going into sideboard matches. You don't sideboard against your opponent's deck from game 1. You sideboard against your opponent's deck from game 2. Because that's the game you're playing now. So even a hand with like 1 Magma Spray or 1 Mystical Dispute, like yeah, that might buy you the time in game 1, but you're not playing game 1 anymore, and it's not buying you the time you need now. So you're going to have to mulligan to more aggressive or more interactive hands.
Yeah, and we're seeing a turn 1, looks like a Rogran Triumph coming in from
Yeah.
Juke.
So
Which
that sets up
Triumphs
the
in
red
turn 1 is
mana.
always nice. Yeah.
Shocks in
And
the
there's
Grove Spiral. Shocks in these Stomping Grounds. For the
Yep.
Grove Spiral, I'm going to assume.
Yep. Now, this is big. Grove Spiral, does Epic have Mystical Dispute? I'm telling you,
don't really do it
this
here,
is...
though. I don't know if you do. You need to be able to find a threat. If you have a Rattle Chains in hand, you're not countering this.
There's Grove Spiral. I think
I'm just
you
thinking-
counter this. I think you counter this. If I'm playing Spirits, I want them to just not have anything. No
yeah, but
counter
I do
from
want
Epic.
the tempo. Because this again looks like a Rattle Chains, but then you might have want to flash it in last turn. That is a Lotus Cobra.
Which, like we were saying, could be really good in this matchup because there's not a whole lot of interaction on field besides Skyclave.
Aether Gusting it. Like, I agree more here. I feel like Lotus Cobra being an a clock and a way to get more than 1 mana out of it every turn, I think
Yeah.
is a card that might at this point be worth interacting with. I don't think I would have countered or gusted the Grove Spiral if I had the chance.
I would not have gusted the Growth Spiral. I think you hold up Gust for something else because those are the things you want for Omnath and Uro as well. So yeah, I agree with holding it up for the Snake, Cobra Boy, Slithery Boy. As we see another Growth Spiral come down for Juke. And
yeah,
this
and
is
someone's
the same thing
making
as last turn. Or last game.
Anime making a point in the chat saying if you counter the Spiral there and they play Teferi, you can no longer interact. And that's the threat you would have run into if you'd have done that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's going to happen. So again, and this is important for Epic, right? Missing the land drop, being like, now it's going to be very hard to both interact and actually work towards your board. If you're going to Lofty Denial something now or Aether Gust something now, that's your turn over with. But Rattle Chain's coming in. We saw how good it was last time. Is there going to be an interaction? Yeah. So waiting for the Rattle Chains to resolve. Then Rattle Chains has to target something to make it hexproof, and in response to that, you kill it. And very important, really taking the wins out of Sir Epic Sales.
Yeah, do we see anything else come from Juke on end step, though? Maybe they have a third Growth Spiral? That'd be nice.
I think you're just kind of waiting. What's being played there? Pretty hard to see.
Is that a Mausoleum Wanderer?
No, because he tapped 2 mana, so I think that's Watch of the Spheres. I would assume it's Watch of the Spheres.
Oh, that's gold boarded. It is gold boarded. As another land comes in for Juke, and I'm just going to pass.
Pointing out in chat, Juke missed the land too. True, but they already made 5 extra land drops, so I didn't notice. Yeah, I'll be honest, I missed it.
That's not the biggest thing for him.
All right, so there's a 1 mana.
That's a Mausoleum, right?
Mausoleum Wanderer coming in. Yeah. So now it's 3 coming in with the Watching Sphere. You've got the Mausoleum Wanderer for the semi-force spike, and you holding a mana open for a counter spell. Like you're clawing in slowly, but.
And so right back to Epic. Well, they don't have Teferi.
I'll be honest, this is still looking kind of close because there's the extra land coming in. Like, got the Watch of the Sphere, got the Mausoleum Wanderer, playing the Imperial Eagle, again holding up the Mystical Dispute, so really getting a lot of pressure in. And it's resolving too.
Oof.
That means the Mausoleum Wanderer is going to trigger, so it's going to go to 3 because it also has the buff. And the Watch of the Sphere is going to trigger, so that's going to be in for 6, taking Juke down to 6. But this looks like Deafening Clarion for game win. If you have Deafening Clarion here, I don't really see how you lose. Almost. Right?
Well,
but tapping the mana.
You could.
If you make a land drop, you can play an Ugin. But Genesis Ultimatum. This is an easy one. Dispute it. Game.
Yeah. That was bold by Juke.
Well, I mean, you had to, right? Because the hand was just, it was Teferi, Omnath, land, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have probably tried to go for the Teferi, right? You play Teferi,
Bounce something.
you bounce something, you draw a card, and you see what your options are, right?
And then if they
'Cause,
counter
yeah,
the Teferi, you still have Omnath to go. Well, then that doesn't do anything because you don't
yeah,
have a
but
land to
something,
go.
but like this was the most obvious mystical dispute of all time, right? So, or even could have even just sacked the Maz Wanderer. So your Genesis ultimatum is never resolving, and Teferi might be, right? And what if they go Teferi? Let's say they go like you go Teferi, they dispute it. You're like, whatever, I'm not gonna pay for it. Now I'm gonna because I don't want to pay the 3 extra. I'm gonna play an Omnath. I draw a card, and you don't know what's on top of your deck, right? It might be like
If
a
it's a
Fable
land,
Passage,
it puts you back
and
in it.
you Fable Passage. You
Yeah.
get 4 life, you get some mana. I think the other card was a Triome. You now have the mana to cycle this Triome. Alright, so now like the ball starts rolling and you start doing things. And this Genesis ultimatum was never gonna do anything ever.
No, I agree with you there. I think. Now I want to double check. Yeah, let's actually go to table 2.
Yeah, we have the
And
opportunity
check
to go
out-
to Cable 2. While we
check
made the
out
transition, again in the chat was saying, I think the 70-30 post side was a little bit too optimistic. I mean, maybe 70-30 is a little too optimistic, but I do actually think that Duke had a very good sideboard plan against it, and it started off very well. And then it kind of just didn't get anywhere, right? Like one Clarion there. If they had a Clarion there, they probably win the game. Because there's just no tempo out of there. Because Epic was missing land drops, it's going to take a while to rebuild. And I think, honestly, also just a bit of a mistake at the end there. Right? Not playing to your outs. Because if, again, I'm thinking like, if you go to Fairy, what if they... I mean, I guess they always counter it. Still, you've got the Omnath, you can find a Fable Passage. If the Teferi resolves, what if they don't have to
play
dispute?
Register Alpha?
Because they already have most So your ultimatum is never resolving because they can always sack the Wanderer.
Yeah.
If they don't have to dispute, you go to Fairy, bounce something. You can even bounce the Wanderer if you want to be sure, right? To Fairy, but well then you don't draw a card. So you probably go to Fairy, bounce the Imperial Eagle, draw a card, Omnath, draw a card. That top could be a Fable Passage, Crack It, Deafening Clarion, right? If those could be the top 2 cards of your deck, and now you win that match. And your Genesis ultimatum is never resolving.
Yeah, because then you have the option of the mystical suite that we saw.
Oh, I did see Duke said no white on turn 6. I guess I didn't look at the colors. Maybe they didn't have the white mana to play the Teferi and the Omnath.
They had a Rogan Triumph. They had a Rogan Triumph. That was the first thing they played. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so too. I see Duke in chat. You didn't have white mana? I thought you went. Yeah, I also thought you went Rockroam Triome Stomping Grounds. Oh, Catria Triome. So it was the Teamer one. Oh, so there was no white mana in that hand at all. Yeah, okay. That explains why you wouldn't play the Teferi.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That was
that was my bad.
Webcams.
And that was my bad, and I kind of went on about it because it was just like we're just trying to slam like the Hail Mary just to try and win the game, which is a thing, can happen, right? Sometimes you're like, this fiddly's just never gonna do it. I'm just gonna slam this card and see if it sticks. Yeah. But yeah, no white mana.
Let me see if we get word from our stream. Do we have any update on getting into table 2 or the other table for the matchup versus Dinos? All right, so we got a couple more minutes of that. So now we're looking at Epic in table 1 for the finals, right? He's back to back. If Dinos wins against Esper, I don't feel good about Epic's chances. I just don't.
Me neither, to be honest. I mean, there's Spellquiller, there's Skyclave Apparition, there's game, right? In that matchup.
Yeah.
But I would favor Dinos there. Now, what if and I think if Esper wins, I think Sir Epic has a really good shot.
Yeah, if Esper wins, Epic just pulled the biggest big brain. Speaking of Esper and Gruul, we're here. But if
Now,
Esper
granted,
wins this matchup,
this
Epic
Esper
did it.
board is, I mean, Esper has a board and isn't dead, which is generally a good sign. But there's two
Got
Regisaur
12.
Alphas and a Chandra Torch of Defiance onto the battlefield right now.
I love the
So-
Chandra. Oh my god.
God, so this is just Haymaker City. Like, there's just, I thought this was a control matchup. What are all these permanents doing here? Like, why aren't they either not dead, or like the dinosaurs aren't dead? And how do you have so many permanents when you're playing control? This is a weird matchup.
That's the beauty of Esper when it comes to the Pioneer version of Esper Control. It's not your traditional like
4
you
mana
Thoughtseize and
Regisaur
stuff
Alpha.
Like
Wanna chump
Ripjaw
that
Raptor.
with a soldier?
Ooh, Ripjaw Raptor though. I
But
think they're looking.
how
at
much
Ripjaw
mana
Raptor.
is that open for the control deck? It's 3.
Just swing in. Just swing in.
But
Just
there's
swing in.
1 trying to push the token.
Fatal push. Okay. Now we don't know what game this is either.
That is 12, so that is dead.
Was
What's
that game? Was that game? Was that match? I think that was that was
I
match.
think it was match Esper
He
player
used the cards.
and
No.
leaving the call. That makes me think that was.
Oh my goodness, we caught the end. We get to see Dinos and Spirits. I think we're going to see Dinos take down the Pioneer Invitational. I'm saying right
We
now.
saw a hasty rip job. Everyone who was disappointed in Ixalan, who was like, why isn't Dinosaurs a good deck? It is so cool. Come and play Pioneer. Join
Marauding
on the
Raptor
Discord
is the
server.
thing.
Just
Oh my
Just
goodness.
private message Immortal Sun, like, I want your deck, dude. I want to be able to play dinosaurs. It's time.
Okay, so this is a great chance to talk about dinosaurs. And actually, you know what?
I think there's a fun one in the questions. How does Esper Control lose to a fair deck like dinosaurs? It's because the removal generally doesn't line up. The way Dinosaurs is constructed and the way this Esper list especially with the Thought Seizes, the Dovin's Vetoes, the Thought Erasures, it was not even... This deck didn't seem to be very well suited up for creature decks anyway, but at least it had like the Oath of Kayas, which is like a very good, especially against Burn, right? You kill a creature and you gain 3 life, and they can't attack your Planeswalkers ever because they can't afford the 2 life swing. So at least you're like, I'm cushioned against that matchup. And then the deck shows up full of 4 toughness creatures with
and
haste.
5 toughness creatures, yeah. So let me talk about the actual genius of Immortal Sun's build for dinos. Let's take a look at this real quick. So of course you have dinos. That's the whole point, right? You have Marauding Raptor, which is the best dinosaur ever printed because it's just so good in the deck.
You've got Ancient Stirrings.
You have a couple
Community
Delta,
dinosaurs.
because why not? You have Ripjaw Raptor, which is your best 4-drop. You have the Regisaur, the one that's just like, yeah, haste, everyone, go in. But the key thing to remember is what you've seen in the past in the standard versions of dinosaurs and things like that, as well as earlier renditions of the Pioneer versions, they go so over the top and heavy into the tribe of dinosaurs, saying, I have to play all of my creatures dinosaurs. But we see a nice mixture. We see 8 elves right off the bat. It's Gruul. You want to get your big things down fast. Cool, let's do that. You see a couple of Domri from Anarchabolas from War of the Spark. A really nice, if you play that on turn 2 after an elf and you start, getting in your big stuff even faster, that's a turn 3 Regisaur, right? That's great there. You have Bonecrusher Giant, which is a nice, amazing piece of removal that doubles as a body. The Gruul game plan. You have Ronus. It's Ronus. It's indestructible. Yeah. It's a big boy. It's a big snake. Like, you are not just going, I'm just dinos. This is nice Gruul aggro using dinos as the flavor thing. Speaking of the dinosaur player, he's here on the call. How are you? How you feeling?
Good. Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling pretty good after that.
How was the match? Was it 2-0, 2-1?
Yeah, it was 2-0.
Nice.
Yeah, as you were talking about, the removal just wasn't there, and I was kind of able to run over.
Yeah, that's what Dinosaurs definitely does. I mean, and we saw. I had a feeling it was 2-0 when we saw the cards get yeeted over the playmat, and then just a quick dip. Like, we've been there. We feel that pain. But I don't want to jinx you. I'm not here to do that. But right now, you're sitting as the favorite for this, because your next matchup, it should be Spirits. It will be Spirits, right? There's no doubt about it.
Well, let's say we think you're favored. How do you feel
Yes.
about the matchup?
So, I haven't played against much Spirits, but the build that I have played against is the Bant version with Collected Company.
Mhm.
And so the real difference is the bit of counter magic they have. And I think Domri could be pretty big in stopping that if I can get it down in front of the counter magic. But really, I think the only issues that I'm likely to run into are if he has the rattle chains. If he has a lot of those, my reckless rages, my sideboard burn spells won't be able to do enough. And then the Nebelgast, the tap down spirit, those will be my two people to watch out for.
Yeah, but I think we talked about it. There's no Nebelgast in this Spirits build.
Oh,
none of
yeah,
the
yeah.
75. No Shacklegeist
so-
either.
So okay, yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize that. So
Don't worry about it.
I guess I'm mostly just going to be worried about spell quellers and rattle chains.
All right. So I
Those
think
are
a
good threats.
fun one to touch on. I don't know how long we have, but I definitely want to quickly talk about this. What made you play Dinosaurs? Like, because you've been playing it for a while, so it seems to be the type of deck that you just like. Did you like start in Ixalan, or did you think they're cool?
So I have always just kind of liked dinos, in not necessarily in Magic, but just in real life, I guess. But it is also really got into like playing Magic outside of just like kitchen table during Ixalan, or when Ixalan was in Standard. And yeah, just this kind of they're big, they're fast, and they're dinosaurs, so that's what I like about them.
Cool. Yeah, I wanna. We touched about and Brad talked about it a bit too before. It's kind of the genius of this deck, because we keep talking about dinosaurs. There are only 14 dinosaurs in this entire deck.
Yeah,
Right?
only four. Yeah, only 4 different ones.
Yeah, because we see Marauding Raptor, and I think that's going to be that's probably a big piece of the deck, right? Because even though it is a dino kind of payoff, the first line of text just says creatures cost 1 less.
Yeah.
And all the other creatures that come in can survive it, except for the elves, and you do need to eat a card with Scavenging Ooze, otherwise it's a 2 toughness creature. So you're really almost more of a Marauding Raptor deck than a dinosaur deck at that point, right?
Yeah. So the big synergies though come through Marauding Raptor, Ripjaw Raptor, and Regisaur Alpha, because Regisaur Alpha with Marauding Raptor makes Marauding Raptor like a 6 power attacker.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously you can turn 2 Marauding Raptor into turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor, which really gets like your engine going. And then Galta to top it off. If you have a Regisaur Alpha in play, that thing just ends games.
That's only 4 mana, though.
Yeah.
5 mana, right? Because the Regisaur Alpha already gets you 7 power if you have just that.
Yeah.
So then you can go turn 5, even on empty board. Turn 5, play this. Turn 6, you don't even need a land. You can slam the Galta already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the...
A
That's
hasty
awesome.
trampling 12 power
God,
thing
it's-
is scary.
I mean, on the other hand, I've died to it a lot, but it's so good to see some Galta again. Just some good old, how do we solve this meta problem with a lot of power and toughness, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
think
a big
we
fan of
talked
this
about it with
deck.
the Esper deck too. That seems to be sort of like the edge that your deck has, right? That all your cards are just big, and people don't seem to be ready for just such large cards.
Yeah, so like Fatal Push only hits up to 2 or 4. Oath of Kaya, 3 damage. Like, basically the threats in my deck all dodge those kind of removal spells, which puts me in a very good spot.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to
Did you
ask
have this a
something real
lot
quick.
when you were playing with people? You probably like chat after the games and stuff, especially on like more casual games. Did you notice like people just say that often? And they're like, man, I have these magma sprays and these scorching dragon fires, and they just don't do anything. Like, is that a thing you encounter a lot, like chatting with people too about your deck?
To some extent. I mean, I've played against dinosaurs as like an Esper deck too, and it's actually, you can find spots to like play your fatal pushes on the elves early or on the marauding raptor, and so it's not often that removal spells are like fully stranded in someone's hand. They're not as effective as the person would like them to be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that definitely
makes
makes
sense.
sense. Now, I do want to ask one thing for Alex's on his behalf. We were painting a picture when we were talking about this matchup earlier, Dinos versus Esper. I think it was before anything even happened, before even round 2. It was like pre-game round 1. And Alex was saying, I really hope there's a spot where there's a raptor, Ripjaw Raptor on the Dino side, and the opponent has to just sit there and play a Othakai and go, okay, I guess I go face. Did that happen? Did that line of play happen at all in that game?
No, sorry, but
I'm so sorry, Alex.
yeah, I did get Oath of Kaid a couple times, but it was to stop a emitting, just to like and gain some life at the end of the game. I didn't have.
Oh yeah, so it was like pointed at it was never pointed at your face.
No.
Okay. Because I was just imagining that happening. They just look at your board, everything has 4 toughness, and they're like, guess I'll lightning helix you. And I was kind of really hoping that would have happened.
No, sorry to disappoint.
Aw. I mean, I'm saying, sorry to disappoint. I am so happy to see you do well with this Dinosaurs deck. I can't
Yeah, I
wait
am
to
too.
see the final match and to just see the dinos in action.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're only waiting on one
Yeah,
more match at the moment. We have, I believe it's the Burn versus, what was popping nades on again? Gruul Possibility Storm? Oh, no, that was the
No, he was on
No, that was the
Blue-White
approach.
Control, I think.
that was the approach. So yeah, approach versus Burn is the last matchup we're waiting on.
But before
It's great.
before wrapping up the interview bit, because we're gonna have the final matches finishing in a bit, of course. You're obviously, I think this is the first time you're gonna be on camera with a match, right? Is this anything that like phases you, or you're just like, I'm just here to play Magic, I don't care, I'm on camera?
Well, I haven't experienced being on camera outside of like one time in the weeklies, so I'm not sure how it'll affect me. I'm not feeling too worried about it, but
Good.
if I punt, I can always blame it on the camera.
That's the best backup plan you can possibly
Yeah,
have.
that's the best backup plan. You sound ready to be on camera, my friend. Like, and you know chat's behind you. You're playing Gruul Dinosaurs. Like,
Yeah, it's good.
I'm supposed to not be biased as a caster, but I'm kind of behind you too.
And not to put any pressure on you, you are going against the defending champion himself, Epic.
Oh
So,
yeah.
This is going to be a great matchup. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm ready to see some dinosaurs clash against some spirits, and we'll hopefully be calling you back in here in a little bit to crown you champion. If not, either way, it was great to watch you play, and it was great to watch dinos kind of roll out, and we're excited about the next round.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Alex, I know we've been praising dinos, but we got to see what Spirits is going to do in this matchup too. Skyclave Aberration comes in, easy peasy, right? You're bringing the third one. Is there anything else in that sideboard that you're like, wow, this is great against dinos?
I mean, Aether Gust's good, right? We are talking about like a lot of these dinosaurs, even with a discount from Marauding Raptor, they are 3 mana, 4 mana cards. So you can tempo out with Aether Gust. And I think maybe the most important card in this matchup is going to be Watcher of the Spheres. Because you have to come out swinging. Because you're not going to outgrow these dinosaurs, right? You can tempo them out a little bit. But at one point, they're going to play a 5 mana 7/7 and worth of stats. And your Spirits deck just never matches one card generating 7 power. Right? That's kind of just the thing we're going to... Because both of these decks aren't particularly good at drawing cards. But the average power of the dinosaurs is so much bigger than the average spirits. So it is, we talked about it in the last match, it's up to Sir Epic to end this game. Right? If we're 6 turns in, they both have like 5 lands, and they're both at 12 life, Epic's probably not winning that game. Because it's only a matter of time before a Regisaur Alpha gets top decked, right? Or we're gonna Reckless Rage a Ripjaw Raptor and draw that extra card. And the game snowballs really quickly once Immortal Sun has had the time to build up. So it's going to be very much in the hands of Sir Epic. And I think either Watcher of the Spheres or just a hand with a lot of lords. I can also just see turn 1 Spectral Sailor, turn 2 Supreme Phantom, turn 3 like Supreme Phantom Spectral Sailor, turn 4 like Empyrean Eagle. Like that might be fast enough too. Just this hard aggro blue-white spirits draw. But whatever it is, it's gonna have to be an aggro draw, right? If you're mulliganing, you're bottoming the Selfless Spirits, right? You don't need those here. You need everything that hits hard and hits fast. And nothing else matters, I think.
Yeah, that's a very tough thing. We're going to go to a very brief little break. I think we'll still be able to hear us real quick, so we can kind of just give you an ASMR treatment. But yeah, Spirits needs to just be faster than Gruul Dinos, I think, is the best play, rather than just be like, I need to interact and stop you from doing stuff. Obviously, you have the interaction, great, use it, but that should not be your plan A option, sitting back, tempoing, and holding interaction, because this Dinos deck seems very poised to just say, I don't care about your interaction. Cool, you Aether Gusted my Hasty Boy. I'll just play him again. Do you have the interaction again? No? Cool, he sticks. Or if they Skyclave Apparition onto a big thing, then you go, okay, I have a Raptor as well as a, what's it called? A Reckless Rage. I get to draw a card, kill your Apparition, get a 5/5 token. Like, it just seems like the tempo aspect and interaction thing is your plan B to help you get along, rather than to go, yeah, I need to hold him out.
Yeah, Reckless Rage is, and we're back, hello. Reckless Rage is pretty big in this matchup too, right? Because I was just talking about the tempo, right? If you've got this 2 mana spell to deal with this like 4 or 5 mana card. But Reckless Rage has the same deal going on, where it's a 1 mana card that can deal with a 2 or 3 mana card quite often. Yep. So the dinosaur player can tempo back. However, it does need to stick something that can like eat it, the 2 damage. But that's pretty easy, right? The deck's kind of full with it. You don't want to Reckless Rage your Llanowar Elf, but that's about it. Like everything else can take it. So the moment you've just got a Marauding Raptor, ideally a Ripjaw Raptor, even a Ronus, right? Even if he can't attack, he's interactable, right? It's not like a Theros god. So just tag the 2 damage on that and do your 1 mana deal 4. Importantly, the 1 mana deal 4 means you can still kill lords while there's 1 out, while there's 2 out. Because sometimes the removal, like an Anger of the Gods or a Clarion, can strand once they have the 2nd lord, because now everything has 4 toughness. And you could still break that up with the Reckless Rage, which it might actually be pretty important if we're talking about these fast spirit draws that include multiple lords, because you don't get punished by giving them the chance to play 2 lords, because you can actually crawl back from that, whereas you normally wouldn't be able to in a lot of these situations.
Yep. Now, before we move on to the battlefield, before we get ready to watch this matchup we're all so very excited about, I just want to say, first off, for everyone here in chat, everyone here watching us, thank you so much. We're happy to have you here. This is our 3rd live streamed Invitational, and we love to do this. We're going to keep doing more. This is, again, the MTG at Home Discord server, so if you want to be able to play some Paper Magic, just like everyone you're seeing on camera is doing so today, there should be a link available for you in chat. You can go ahead and hop in the server if you have not already. We have all different formats available to play. Like I said, the big 2 that we have invitationals for are Modern and Pioneer. But if you want to play a game of Legacy and we have people that play that as well, or you want to play some EDH or whatever, we have that available, as well as some Super Brew events, which have been a lot of fun team events that we've had over the last few months. We have some upcoming team events for Modern, and it's going to be a lot of fun, a really big thing coming in to the next month. And then, of course, without any of this being possible, could not do it here without Dawn. Dawn is our streamer right now. She came in very last second as our streamer, literally in the last couple of days. We had some other ones lined up. They all fell through, and we were scrambling to even make this possible for you. And without her being here, without her being a very quick learner, had to sit through some really boring meetings. We got here today because of her. So we want to make sure we can thank her as well. And I'm sure she'll pop in chat and say hi. But with that being said, anything else you want to add, Alex, before we go into this great matchup?
I mean, Gruul or die, right? Like, that's kind of what it... Gruul or die. That's... I mean, fitting, because you're either Gruul or you die and then you turn into a spirit. So, perfectly flips together. Clearly, spirits weren't Gruul, because they died.
Well, we're hopefully not going to see Gruul die, and I know Spirits is thinking the same thing. Let's see what's going to happen here. Now, I wonder who's on the play. I don't know if they've quite rolled yet. I still go with my gut feeling of Dinos has it. Dinos has the advantage.
I think Dinos is... I think even on the draw, Dinos is slightly favored, and that is because, and this is a very important factor, there is no way for spirits to properly interact with a turn 1 Llanowar Elf. And we always talked about, well, Llanowar Elf is really good on the play because you're playing a 3-mana spell when your opponent's only had 1 mana. But it also works the other way around, because you can catch up. Because you go turn 1 Llanowar Elf, and like your opponent goes for 1 spell, you go for your Llanowar Elf, they spend 2 mana, play a 2-drop, as you do, playing Fair Magic, and you immediately play a 3-drop. Right? So even then, you're kind of drawing ahead because of the power of this acceleration. So even on the draw, there is a good chance that the Immortal Sun can actually catch up in tempo. And that's a very important thing we've always discussed in these play draw scenarios, where it's like, yeah, being on the play is super important. Being on the play is super important. And it is, but being on the draw is less punishing if you're playing an elf deck while your opponent can never kill your elf. That's really important.
Yeah. I mean, when are we going to see Esper Spirits pop in and have a Fatal Push and Thoughtseize be a staple of spirits?
No, we're going to be banned spirits so we can put elves in it, and then we out-tempo our opponent. We already have ban, right? They have Noble Hierarch in Modern. We got Noble Hierarch. There we go.
I want spirits to be different from Modern. Let's go Esper. Print a cool Esper Lord for spirits, and then we'll call it a day.
I think Esper players are happy being Azorius based.
Yeah.
Also give white cards, right? It's cool that we've got stuff like so we see on the play the spirits. Now, starting on an island implies that there's probably gonna be a Spectral Sailor here, right? But that's still no Mausoleum Wanderer. And Mausoleum Wanderer actually grows, so it gives a slightly faster clock. However, this is a commune to dinosaurs with a Spectral Sailor being flashed in, so no elf, right? So you're behind and you don't have the elf. However, if you can stick the Marauding Raptor, you're still kind of in the same boat. But now you're looking at being Lofty Denialed. As we see our Ancient Stirrings. I mean, funnily enough, this is also kind of an Ancient Stirrings because it's still looking for dinosaurs. It's just not as ancient because it's not looking for Eldrazi.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I'm the flavor judge. I'm not a good normal judge, but I'll be the flavor judge. As we're seeing, tapped Hallowed Fountain. That means there's still no Lofty Denial here. And that means there might not even be another turn 2 play. Unless there is another Spectral Sailor, this might be effectively a pass from Epic. If you stick the Marauding Raptor here, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, this just kind of speaks to how awesome it is.
Marauding Raptor.
There it is. And this speaks to how awesome Pioneer is. The fact that we're even going, Yeah, dinos. Let's watch them do stuff. Now, is that
And
another
there's another
sailor?
Spectral Sailor. So there is some
Yeah.
tempo. But again, I mean, you can play a Lorder, but you're looking at 1/1s, right? We're talking about that power thing in there. If you the Imperial Eagle,
Mhm.
right? Pretty fast start, swinging in for 4. But what are we going to see now, right? Marauding Raptor shenanigans.
Ooh. Yeah,
We
if
could
we
actually see
see
Marauding Raptor into Ripjaw Raptor draw 2.
Yeah, but I think you really want removal here if you have it. I think you want to kill that ward.
Yeah,
If-
if you have the opportunity to kill the Lord, you probably kill that Lord here. You can go like
Yeah.
Ronas, Reckless Rage. We know he's got the third land because we saw it revealed of the commune of dinosaurs.
Now, he could go into a second Marauding Raptor and then just
Ooh, and that is the
rip all that.
nice full art for the. I will always forget the name of.
It's a pathway land.
The pathway
it's the
land.
Gruul pathway land. I know Bright Climb is the Orzhov one, and that is it. I don't know any of the other ones.
All right, so there's Ripjaw Raptor.
Okay,
That
gonna
still
draw
means,
2.
but he's going to hit in for 4, right? So he's going to be hitting in for 4. That's not going to be traded in. He's going to be hit fat for 6, right? Looking at the board now, unless there's more lords, as Sir Epic has a disconnect, so we probably have to. There he is. And we're back in. So here's the 4 coming in, right? So he's now at 16. He's going to be able to hit back for 6. If Sir Epic might have a pretty quick clock coming down here, but we are looking at like.
That's the
There's
worry.
another Supreme Phantom. So this is the draw that Epic was looking for. All the lords in the world. Like.
Yeah, dinos can fall behind in this regard.
Ooh.
So at 4, now you need those 2 cards to be like Reckless Rage that you drew last turn.
Pretty much, yeah.
You got to kill those 2 lords. And even then, you could still be facing lethal if he has another lord.
Yeah,
in
I
hand.
think Sir Epic has it. This was just the absolute balls to the wall aggro draw, right? Even having 2 mana up here, that's a lofty denial for sure. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lofty denial or a rattle chains to protect from a removal spell. So this is probably
Another
over.
pathway. Now the question is, would this have played differently if that was a elf on turn 1 rather than a commune? I don't think so.
It depends on the rest of the hand, right? If you'd be able to squeeze in a Reckless Rage last turn, definitely.
Yeah, that Reckless Rage would have been huge last turn.
I think last turn, even if you have a Reckless Rage in your hand, there is an argument to be made to not play it. Because if all you're doing is playing a Reckless Rage and passing, that's still not good. But we're looking at, like, this has to be like Reckless Rage Stomp. Like, is a way to really, like, get yourself out of here. But he's just scooping it up.
All right.
Wow.
Game 2.
Aggro Spirits. We thought Bans was the aggro version. Damn.
Yeah, we're looking at Fry coming in, right? For Mortal Sun.
Yeah.
Now, I did see some 5-mana Vivian. With the amount of ramp that you have, is that even an option?
No, it's too slow. It's definitely too slow. You're looking at Fry, Mizia Mortars I saw on the sideboard too. I think there were 4-mana Chandra. I think that's too slow too. I think it's going away from your main plan too much. Because let's be honest here, you are the faster deck generally. This was an exceptionally fast draw from Sir Epic. You could have wished for like a third 1-drop, but your deck only runs 8, right? You've got 8 1-drops. You drew 2 out of those 8 1-drops. You drew 2 lords, and you had a counter backup, presumably. This was like, and you were on the play. This was as close to perfect as your draw could be. So yeah, now you're quicker. But even with that draw, that might not have been fast enough on the draw. Because that would have been the Ripjaw Raptor return earlier. We could have played a Regisaur Alpha, and we would have still had a turn worth of time to then do whatever we want with that Regisaur Alpha, giving all of our creatures haste, right?
Now, there is one dinosaur that I remember being very good in this matchup that we don't see at all in the 75 for Mortal Sun, and that's shifting Ceratops. Do you think that could have been an option of consideration when building this deck?
No, I don't think so necessarily in this meta. I don't think so. Don't think you need it. It's a good card. But I feel like counter spells and like blue blockers and that sort of thing, that's not really what the format is about right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Especially because it's 4 mana, right? Your top curve is kind of clogged up. Because we talked about how sort of like lean this Dino deck still is. By the way, I was thinking, I just realized it too. So yeah, even with that draw from Epic, had Immortal Sun been on the play, we could have seen a Regisaur Alpha in like that last turn, right, where he now scooped because he was too far behind. Was he on the play? In that turn, he would have been able to play Regisaur Alpha, wouldn't have died on the crackback, and then it could have just been Galta lethal. Right?
Yeah.
And that's with Sir Epic having about as fast of a draw as he can have. And the Immortal Sun just had like, it wasn't even that fast, it was just Marauding Raptor, right? Because Regisaur Alpha isn't particularly fast. It's efficient, but it's not super fast, right? There's faster decks out of the Immortal Sun, and there's hardly any faster decks out of Blue White Spirits.
No, I got you. This is just Epic hoping for another draw, just like last turn or last game.
Another draw just like this. This is what Epic is looking for. You mulligan into this, and you have to, right? We saw how Sir Epic won that game 1. You don't really win other games in another way. This is how you win this matchup, and this is how even your post-board game should still go. 2 Ether Gust doesn't suddenly turn you into a control deck, right? You're still the aggro deck, beating down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and this is where his meta call of like, I mean, he went against control, right? Well, I mean, sort of. You can say 4-color Omnath is like a hybrid of the
It's
two.
control-ish, right? Counter spells are good against it.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
So thus far, for those 2 games, Epic was correct in his meta call. This is the big test, and then this is just a testament of.
I mean, it's not even
your deck
necessarily a
be-
test. This is kind of, and if you're like an aspiring spike, but then not the streamer, and you want to know how to win tournaments, this is how you win tournaments. You make a meta call, you get something like, hey, I think everybody's going to be on control decks, but you're never going to be 100% right in that call. So how you always, I mean, at the end of the day, Magic, in essence, is also a game of chance. All you do is maximize your chances. So he maximized his chances, went for an anti-control build of the deck, played against 2 control-ish, or at least like that sort of deck, right? He went like, I want matchups where counterspells is good and Nebelgast Herald isn't, and that's how I'm going to build my deck. Had the right call twice, won both of those matches, and now in the third one, which is the opposite of your meta call, you have to get lucky. And that's how you win a tournament. You maximize your odds, but at the end of the day, in order to win a tournament, you're going to have to be a little bit lucky too.
And this could end up being a very fast tournament. I mean, these games are not going to last that long. We're just going to be like, okay, who gets the kills faster?
Yeah, this is going to be over on like turn 4 or 5, right? And the third match is going to be no different. Right, we're going to be done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, the third match is going to be, if we get to that point, that's the big thing. Because I think Epic can afford to say, like, if I lose game 2 in this match, I'm not too bummed out about it because I have the chance to go on the play again and get that fast start all over again. And
There's
I mean,
follower selling thing in the chat, if someone would be able to ban that real quick, that'd be nice.
Hopefully Juke is watching. I did make Juke a while back. No, actually, no, that was my personal stream.
Juke's playing. Yeah, the message has been deleted by the moderator. Thank you very much. So there's a thing I want to quickly address as we're waiting. Someone in the chat, and this is not personally directed at you, we have talked about this before, says the feed on the right is really bad and it's really blurry. That's because at the end of the day, we're just here to play Magic and we're here to have fun, and we don't want to ban people from the events for like not having a good webcam. because that's not the essence of the server. We started off like, hey, we just want to be able to play Magic online, and now we're doing tournaments, and now we're doing events. But it's a bit of a cheesy line. I said at the first Pioneer Invitational, we're here for the gathering, right? We're here to play. We're here to have fun. And at the end of the day, we considered, like, do we want webcam standards, card quality standards, because we allow proxies. And we've set some bar, but we purposely have a relatively low bar because we want the barrier to entry to be able to play Magic and have fun to be low, because that's what we care about most. We're a Magic server first and a content/broadcast server second.
And that's why you have our beautiful voices to help guide you along this these beautiful games.
As we guess cards we sometimes can't read either.
Yeah. And of course, we have our streamer helping out, Don, doing great, pulling up cards in the middle to enlarge them if you're not familiar with them in general. So, we have all the tools available at our disposal to make sure that this is the most enjoyable and legible game that you can witness, even with some lesser quality webcams.
And again, who's said it in the server, in the chat, I don't even have to call out your name, not directed at you personally. We've talked about this before, and it is very understandable, because obviously, if you're now watching, especially like a lot of Magic content now is on Magic Arena, right? Which is like just streamed from a device, so it looks crisp. And now you look at this, it's like, hey, this isn't as crisp as like another Magic stream I watch. It's understandable, and it's an understandable comment. I just want to give the entire context.
Of course.
But going back into the game, we see Sir Epic, I think, considering a mulligan.
I think they both mulled the 6.
Which can be a bad sign and a good sign. It's either like this hand was bad, or it's Sir Epic acknowledging how he has to mulligan and get these aggressive draws in.
Or worst case scenario, he's like, I can't mull to 5. I have to keep this.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah. Because mulling to 5 on Spirits is not a good
God,
feeling.
I'll keep this one lander and hope it works. I'm on the draw. And it never does.
And you never even see the second land. It makes you so sad.
Also, people in chat, crappy webcam over MTG Arena. Totally agree. There's no Pioneer on Arena. Screw that.
That's a
and
very
we see
good thing.
Turn 1 Forest Llanowar Elf. That's the speed.
That's the good art. That's the
turn
good
1
art.
Island. I don't agree. But I do not like the old Llanowar Elf. I think it is ugly.
That's the thing.
And I think the new Dominaria one is much better.
You're disgusting. You're gross.
Thank you. It's also nice how it's multiple elves on it, because it is Llanowar Elves at the end of the day. Oh, but the Llanowar Elf is attacking. That is a bad sign. Going for another forest and attacking with your Llanowar Elf. Playing another Elvish Mystic.
All right, they can play.
They can play Regisaur Alpha next turn.
Yeah, if they have the red source, yeah.
Go for another island.
But Locked-in Nile is in play here. 2 mana for the Spirit player.
There's a Stomping Ground being shocked in. That must have come from the top. Otherwise, you would have played it. Oh no. Yeah, otherwise you would have just played it tapped last turn. So there's the red source, the Savior.
I don't think
could even be Marauding Raptor, Ripjaw Raptor.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's what you want to see.
So you're gonna be like, hey, do you want to counter this?
Will there be a response from Epic?
And if you want to counter it, you probably do.
Locked-in Nile.
No, it's Aether Gust.
Oh, Aether
you
Gust.
Just pay for Lofty.
Blur. Yeah, there you go.
And that's gonna go on
right
top.
Back on top.
That might tell you something about the hand. What's on this going back?
Do they have anything else to play?
Now you can't play the Ripjaw Raptor though. You could get like a Ronas or just attack for 2.
Ooh.
I mean, at the end of the day, right? Sir Epic isn't building a board either.
Yeah. And this
if
is
at
the
one point he has
we
to tap out for something. There's another island. There's no white. These have been some wonky draws so far.
But yeah, this goes back to the plan B thing for Spirits, where you don't want this to be your option A, where you're like, okay, just keep me from doing things, because eventually dinos will power through all their removal and disruption and be like, I have it anyway.
Because the Marauding Raptor went on top, right? So it's like, here it is again. And now, how has the game progressed? You took 2.
Wait, is this the Raptor?
We're back. There it is. Raptor. This might be Lofty Denial though.
Draw some cards.
Out.
Yeah.
So is this going to be Lofty Denialed? I think if it isn't, the game's over. Yeah, draw. What are you going to do? Flash into Rattle Chains? This is
so hard to deal with.
This is tough. Because now you're staring down 8 power, right? Granted, the elves are probably never attacking. But, but Rattle Chains and Mausoleum Wanderer. It's a little bit of a clock.
Now, this is
Oh, but
where
we had to pay attention to. There's a red mana open.
do they kill a thing? Oh, no, okay, so he's doing
Yes,
he's
in
reckless raging the
response to that-
okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, I see.
No, because
And
I
then
want
draw
to
the card.
No, because you can flash in a Mausoleum Wanderer and then sack it, and counter the Reckless Rage. Because the Rattle Chains is already on the field, so even though the
Yeah.
ability is targeting itself for hexproof, you already have given your spirits flash because the Mausoleum Wanderer is there. See, it says when it enters the battlefield, your creatures gain hexproof. However, it just has the passive text. You may cast spirit spells as though they had flash.
Yep.
But no land from Epic and a passback.
And no white mana still, so Skyclave is not an option. If
That's
'cause
even 2 white mana, so we are
Yeah.
far away from a Skyclave apparition.
which is what you need
Oh,
as a
it's
spirit
just
player
attacking.
right now.
I mean, the only
I mean,
quote unquote
force the
blowout
block,
here
force,
is like
force the plays.
yeah, because what are you gonna do? Like flash in a Supreme Phantom and then block the 2 elves? Like who
He could be
cares?
holding up a reckless rage too. Just be like, hey, I dare you to flash something in and try and
Yeah, but
try and
even if
kill
you
it
do
off.
that, you're just trying to get this out, right? And I don't know why the Marauding Raptor. No, the Marauding Raptor. I thought it went to the graveyard for a second, but he's just blocking. Just a chump. Because this is what I was thinking, right? You attack even with the elves, you bait out the block with the Supreme Phantom, and if he plays like a Supreme Phantom and blocks, that means he can't counter your spells. And then you just play like a post-combat Galta, and you just immediately lose. So your
Yeah.
opponent immediately loses the game.
There's a white source that's shocked in the Hollow
Shocking
Fountain.
it in. I mean, I'm even wondering, like, shocking it in. What are we even looking at? Like, this looks dire. And again,
Yeah.
like, okay, so Immortal Sun was on the play, right? But this wasn't, I mean, from either side, a particularly great draw. But if the draw isn't great on either side, the Immortal Sun's got this.
Yeah, I think this actually was a thing where Epic said, I cannot go to 5. I actually feel like that was the kind of hand he had.
Yeah, this looks like I can't go. He's flashing in a Queller just to block. And this is what we're at right now. Literally flashing in the Queller just to block. Now, granted, he didn't actually have to because he's facing down 8. But post combat,
And then here comes
another
the
Marauding
post-combat
Raptor. That only cost 1
Galta.
mana, but that's fine.
Just pass. Yeah, I mean, he has lethal. There's nothing Epic can do that makes me feel like it's
Northern Nomad in
salvageable.
chat. Supreme Verdict out of the cheat board. It's a new thing we added. Going into the cheat board. Right, so these coming in. I mean, what are we looking at now? Like a Rattle Chain scoop? Yeah, Sir Epic just scoops it up, right? This is
Okay.
this is toast.
Going to game 3.
He plays any creature and he has 3 lethal threats. So we're gonna looking at 3
Yeah.
chumps. Right? You flash in a Rattle Chain, chump block 3 creatures, you're never winning that. You go to 1, you never win.
This is where you're feeling good if you're dinos, because you're hoping for another instance of game 2 where Epic has to mulligan, try to find that aggressive hand, and just does not find it.
Even the Immortal Sun's hand wasn't so great, right? There's
Which is
more
fine.
potential in it. The Llanowar elves tapped for mana once.
Yeah.
And aside from that, they were 1 mana 1/1s that were attacking.
Well, this goes to a what we were saying. This is
Chat's
not a
making me
matter.
laugh.
This is not a matter of dinos just being so much better than spirits. This is a matter of dinos having the ability to power through removal from spirits. Like
it matches up very well against spirits.
Yeah, you cannot sit there from Epic's point of view and be like, okay, we can just keep a hand that says Spell Queller, Aether Gust, and that you just have removal. You cannot keep that hand. You need the hand like you had game 1 where it's like, cool, 1 drop, Lord, kill you. Like you cannot win any other way because dinos will just go, cool, you want Aether Gust? I'll put it on top. You can deal with this again next turn. You have it again? Let's do it again. And you just burn through all the removal, and eventually you just get through like we saw it. It wasn't the best draw.
Power of 1 individual card. 1 Regisaur Alpha is just 7 power. if you can power through one card, but your one card is 7 power, the game ends really quickly.
Yeah. Now imagine if he gets the elf start into Domri into things, where it's just like, yay.
Yeah, what if he goes like, but he can even just go like elf, marauding raptor, marauding raptor.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Which is
draw that
fine.
can happen. And then you just go ripped. What you can go. All right, this is the real nuts, right? But it's super gross. You go turn 1 Llanowar Elf. You need 2 red sources for this, so you're gonna need like a Triome or a Stomping Ground. But you go turn 1 Llanowar Elf, turn 2 double Marauding Raptor, turn 3 Register Alpha. Explain to me how you lose that game. You get caught cheating
yeah.
and disqualified. Like that's effectively the only way that loss happens, even on the draw, right?
Judge, he has cards in his sleeves.
Yeah, opponent judge, he is paying 3 mana for a 5-drop.
That should ban him. Should not be allowed. Wizards, I need you to ban Register Alpha right now.
Yeah, too good. Ban Marauding Raptor.
Url's
Immortal Sun's
fine,
gonna make
Omnath is fine, but Register Alpha is where I draw the line.
Very poetic, Brad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was at least a
mulligan
mulligan from the Immortal Sun side. I don't know if Sir Epic has just spent a while shuffling or still sideboarding, but I believe that was at least a mulligan from the Immortal Sun. Which I would assume. I mean, sometimes people play fast and loose, right? But if your opponent's still boarding and you're on the draw, you do not have to tell your opponent you're mulliganing yet.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, it's just such a bad spot for Epic, right? Because you don't want to sit there and mulligan and be like, yeah, I'm going to go to 5 against this deck that just has infinite threats that I have to deal with. And it's just like, okay, well, that's a really big feels bad. So Epic is in this really awkward spot where you're like, I need to mulligan into an aggressive thing, but I also can't mulligan to 5. So
Yeah,
you get one mulligan.
because you're aggressive.
Commander.
Yeah, your aggressive draw is never good enough if you get 5, unless it's like literally card for card perfect.
Yeah.
But your aggressive draw is not good enough if you go down to 5, because you're looking at like 2 lands, 2 1-drops, and a 2-mana lord. And then you still need to top deck a land and top deck a 3-mana lord. That's when you've got enough speed. Like that's not happening. You get into the territory of mulliganing into 1-landers and hoping you draw a land, that sort of thing. So you are right, you only get 1. Where I feel like the Immortal Sun, especially even being on the draw, can afford a mulligan to 5 a little bit more, but seems, if I kept track correctly, to have kept a 6, and Sir Epic also kept a 6, and we're off to the races, I think. But Sir Epic starts with the turn 1 tank.
Yeah, I just...
Oh, still the mulligan happening from the Immortal Sun.
This is wonderful. This is peak Pioneer. Not to be confused with Pioneer Peak, the MTG Goldfish series featuring Krim. Which is
so
great.
Turn 1, Island, Mausoleum Wanderer. I mean, Sack it to counter commune with dinosaurs.
First thing. Elf?
Stomping Grounds, tap. This is looking an awful lot like game 1. Glacial Fortress.
No, he's just going to hold up mana, I think. Probably like have a Lofted and Island play to counter something.
I think a no 1-drop from the Immortal Sun is either a bad sign or a sign of a hand that is absolutely pure gas. And only stopped by a fast hand. Again, if Sir Epic is looking at a hand with like 2 or 3 counter spells, and the Immortal Sun is looking at a hand full of gas, you're favoring the Immortal Sun here. Yep. So this turn 1 tapped Stomping Grounds is a sign of a hand that's not nutty, but not of a hand that's not potentially game winning. Right? The game's not over. Far from.
Yeah, if they have Marauding Raptor, like 2 alphas and like a Ripjaw Raptor, you're kind of like, oh, okay, enjoy, have fun, GG.
So Sir Epic tanking for a while, probably considering like, I think the main thing that tells you is that there's a Supreme Phantom in that hand, and he was or even a Rattle Chains, and he's considering: do I play my Spirit before combat to get an extra damage in, or do I keep up this piece of interaction?
Ooh, he's got the good full art mountains. Look at that Amonkhet. That's some top tier land choice. No bias from me whatsoever, by the way.
But the Rattle
As we
Chains coming in,
see-
yeah. What are we looking at? Like, because I think the Immortal Sun passed. Are we looking at Fry? Why else did you keep this hand? Like, I mean, he might
Did
be.
he have the same thing where you're saying I can't go to 5?
I'm not sure, but going for the unclaimed territory, definitely not naming Bird or Wizard. What's
I'm
going
so
on now?
confused.
He's going in.
Okay.
This has to be a Fry, right? Missio Mortis is a sorcery speed spell. Like, flashing in the Lord.
Is this
Keeping it
pre-damage? Okay,
suspenseful.
so Fry.
Are we
Fry
going
the
to
Lord?
Fry the Lord? I
If
couldn't
he
imagine.
drops to like 12
If he
here
now
or
takes
13 here, I don't.
5, goes to 14.
Okay, yeah, I don't.
No, actually, it's more. Goes to 13.
Yeah, so he does. Wow. What do you do
That's
here?
that's
Oh
grim.
no,
Now
Dino.
he tapped out. We might be able to look at something like a Missio
Forest.
Mortars here on the Lord. So
So
that means he has the opportunity to play the Mausoleum Wanderer and sack it, which still is a pretty bad situation. Passing
another
back, the Immortal
pass?
Sun yet to cast a spell.
No. I don't understand.
Me neither.
Huh. And we've had this before. We had something similar happen. We had actually, it was a Spirits match when Juke was on Spirits last Pioneer Invitational. We had the same thing happen match 1, and we were just utterly
But this
baffled.
just, even with the Mausoleum Wanderer being surprisingly good here, like, what is the hand that the Immortal Sun has? This just looks like you're thinking, yeah, I can't go to 5. I think you can if this is your hand.
Yeah,
Like,
no spells cast turns
this
1
is
through 3.
literally Spirit just going 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. If your hand can't beat that, it's a mo. It doesn't matter that you're going to 5. If you can't even beat that draw, like, what are we looking at here? Like, not even an instant speed spell, just nothing. Gonna play a Ripjaw Raptor and die? He couldn't even play Shifting Ceratops and give it reach. Goes for the mount.
I don't know. Okay, tapping for. Oh, he's tapping out
for Chandra.
That's the counter, right?
Gets countered, game's over. It's literally over. It's lethal on board. Yeah.
Oh no.
Sir Epic does it again.
Back to back.
Winning another Pioneer Invitational back to back. This was over.
I don't want to kick him while he's down, but that is extremely questionable keep.
Was it all seemed like he went to 6. I believe he went to 6. If he already went to 5, I guess you're just gonna have to trust the top of your deck at one point. But if this was a 6, this was a mo. So if this was only a mo to 6, this should have been a mulligan. And maybe it's camera nerves, right?
Maybe. Well, we have our back-to-back champion here in the call with us. Epic, you just took down Dinos in a matchup that we were all saying you were disfavored. How are you feeling right now?
I'm just happy I won. I've had mana issues all night, and I'm just happy that I was able to do it.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, just what went through your mind in Game 3? We were all just kind of confused. Like, is he just forgetting to play spells? Like,
no, in game I had a Rattle Chains out, so I can choose to.
No, I mean, I'm talking about your opponent.
So they
There's
had
nothing-
all the top end. They had Ripjaw Raptor, Sean, Register Alpha. They didn't have any Land War Elves, like Marauding Raptors, nothing to accelerate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, okay, can you tell us if they mold to 5 there, or was that a mold to 6?
That was a 6.
That was a 6.
All right.
Yeah, so we
All
feel
right.
like they should have gone
So,
to 5 in
yes,
that case. But
But let's
without
talk about
without that in mind,
your win. Like you made the meta call to have a much more anti-control-y based deck, right? We saw no copies of Nabelgast Herald, which I think is like the main standout card you were missing. 4 copies of Watching on the Sphere. What went into like your deck construction, and did it play out? Are you happy with the decisions you made? Like, yeah, you won, but still, in hindsight, would you be like, yeah, I'm also happy with the call that I made?
In hindsight, it would have been nice to have 2 Shackle Guys. I expected Oopsal spells over Burn and Esper Doom over Dinos. Those were my meta calls, and because of that, that's why I didn't choose to play any of the tap effect creatures, because at that's half of the meta game playing control. So I'm still happy with how played and my deck selection. Going into having known exactly everything, I probably would have played 2 copies of Shacklegeist, but it's going to meta call and just hoping that you made the right calls and whatnot.
Are you saying even Shacklegeist over Nabelgast Herald?
Yeah, Shacklegeist, because it's 2 mana, it's down very quickly, especially with the Watcher that spheres out. Watcher is the most explosive card in the deck.
yeah, we definitely
Yeah,
saw some
we were talking
explosions
about
there.
that earlier on, but we didn't actually see it too much in action. We saw it a little bit.
No, we did see a bit of it. It would have been nice to see a little bit more. But Rattle Chain is really the best card. Just the ability to play on your own compared to your opponents is just so huge for a templating to deck like Spirits.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this earlier, you and I, Epic, prior to the Invitational in general. We are talking about the deck choice and stuff like that. And you flat out told me, yeah, I am anticipating control heavy. That's why no tap creatures. You seem to have made the right call. Round 1, you took down Azorius approach as far as a control deck. You took it down 2-0. I'm sure you felt pretty good in that one.
Yeah, I was very happy to be paired. I was very happy to miss both Burn and Feather in the round, because that was critical for me to actually just make it a tier.
Yeah. And also, we watched your last 2 games. We watched you against Juke. Well played there. We saw Spirits do some Spirit stuff as being one of the most aggressive decks in the format, and just saying, yeah, I have 15 damage on board. Can you beat it? And when you have those draws and you can just kind of go that way, it's great.
So going with Spirits, the banned Spirits deck has been like kind of the more popular one on and off. What made you decide that blue-white was the way to go as opposed to banned?
The issue with going banned is the mana base. It always has been, always will be until we get placed. Even the mana base in this deck is not the greatest. And Banned Spirits is very good from what I've been able to gather. When you play more of a mid-range metagame, playing more against a controlling metagame, that's when you want blue white Spirits.
It definitely worked out for you. I mean, we're seeing the result here. You're back-to-back champions. Are we going to expect next season, should you make the Invitational yet again, do we expect you to do another flip and play a different deck yet again?
Honestly, I have no idea what next Invitational, like if I make it that far. I believe one of this with myself being a Magic player is the ability of myself being able to play a vast amount of different decks.
Now, the next Invitational should be weird because I believe it will fall under like a week or 2 after Kaldheim's release. So
it's end of January. I don't know when Kaldheim's set to release.
Kaldheim hasn't been officially announced when, but it should be around the end of January, similar to Theros Beyond Death. So we could see a very strange metagame going into this Invitational.
I saw when they're saying Kaldheim releases February, so then it would be just before. But I wanna, sticking to this one, to the event we're now playing, or have now finished playing. So you said you were very happy to dodge Burn or Boral's Feather. Any other matchups where you're like, kind of good I dodged those? Because it seemed like going into it, you would have probably wanted to dodge dinos too, but luckily ended up taking that down.
So Dinos and Possibility Storm, the two dual decks, are the matchups where I feel like close. I feel extremely bad considering the fact that I just need to aggro them and out-tempo them out, and flyers can typically in there. If I don't have those aggro starts, I'm going to have those issues.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
that
those
makes sense.
aren't the worst things in the world. It's just a race at that point, and you outraced him in that match, and of course, now you're
Is
here.
that
You're the champion.
Is that a thing you were aggressively looking for in these matchups? Like, because you were playing against the dinosaurs, and we saw you have, I think in every match you had some number of lords. Like, is that really a thing you were like actively mulliganing for, or was it what you happened to draw?
I was looking for lands. I've been having I have not had a match tonight where I didn't mulligan because I only have one or two land or no lands in hand. Every mulligan I made because I didn't have the lands to cast my spells.
And was it also
Curse of Spirits?
And was that also running into unclaimed territory with Watcher of the Spheres? Because that was, looking at your list, a part that I thought was a little bit dodgy. To put a 2-colored card in your deck that is generally not what you want to name with unclaimed territory.
Yeah, it's not what you want to name unclaimed territory. I did a test match earlier, before the Invitational. Basically, I was forced to name Bird because that also gets Imperial Eagle as well. But really, you also have to know that if you don't have a Watcher in your hand, have unclaimed territory in your hand, you have to know that one of your draws is Watcher of the Spheres on turn 2, and it is the most exclusive play you can play on turn 2. And with that, you have to be aware of how you need to play your land drops. It's very specific that point. Just knowing how you navigate that. There was one point, I think in one of the games where I played like Mana Confluence first against Juke. I had Mana Confluence and Unclaimed Territory in my hand. I played Mana Confluence first with Watcher in hand. So I then drew the island, or I drew a blue source. I was able to play the turn 2 Watcher and just go from there. So it's just knowing how to navigate playing your land drops and knowing what to play.
Yeah, it's luckily for you, this is a very streamlined list, so you don't have too much of those kind of little intricate little things you have to worry about too often. It's pretty straightforward. You either go tempo route, counter their stuff, build your board, or just against certain decks, balls to the wall, aggro, race them as fast as you can. And you were effective in both categories. We saw both on display tonight. So that was definitely a good showing for you. But yeah, I know we have one other table going on, but I mean, as far as the tournament's going, Epic, you are the champion. You are the back-to-back Pioneer champion after finishing first in the leaderboard twice now.
Yes,
So how's that feel?
it's really cool. This season has just been very, very good to me. Actually funny because my opponent, the Immortal Sun, he finished in the regular season lead second, only behind me. So it's very cool to see both of us being able to make finals.
So it was almost like the proper finals, like the finals. Yeah.
We actually have the 1 and 2 seeds.
Before I do get going, I do want to shout out people. Without that, the deck testing I did beforehand and just talking about spirits in general, without I wouldn't have been able to get here. Rami from the Spirits Discord server, as well as Risen, and was on the server. Nameless helped me a lot with picking out the deck, and Risen was able to help me out earlier with just getting these matchups in and a couple of them done. So huge thanks to you guys. I wouldn't be here without you.
We're happy to hear it. I mean, we're happy to see you here because again,
congratulations.
Twice in a row.
Yes.
All right. So for those of you in chat, you've seen it here first. Epic is our back-to-back champion for the Season 7 of the Pioneer Invitational. And we do have a few things to kind of go over before we wrap up in completion. Again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming in and watching and enjoying this wonderful stream with us. Huge thank you again to Dawn coming in for our streamer. And of course, thank you to everyone else involved in the background as well. We do have a quick word that we want to get in from the owner of the actual server. He wants to come in and say a quick word. So as soon as he's ready, he can just pop in and we're good to go. Otherwise, Alex, thank you so much for being here. It's been a lot of fun casting. And
it's been as much fun as always.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to listen to your lovely voice again or check out your own opinions and see what you have to say about Magic, where can they check you out?
Well, as it so happens, Brad, we have a podcast. And the owner of our server, who just joined us and will be chatting with us in a moment, Matt, has also been on that podcast, especially near the start, for a long time. And it's called The Pioneer Perspective. It's associated with this server, and it can be found on plenty of places. I don't know from the top of my head. I know iTunes, Spotify, Anchor is our main place we find them. Effectively all of them. I think Podbean, like whatever place you can think of where you can find podcasts, it's there. It's The Pioneer Perspective. And last week was the first time we missed an episode since beginning
August.
of halfway
August
through begin August.
First day.
So we have a weekly episode which will hopefully release on a slightly more consistent schedule once we get our editor in. And you can find us there talking about the meta, off meta topics like regularly. When we try and make a filler, we recently had an episode talking about historic too, how that sort of ties in with Arena. We also had a more heads up episode, which I forgot what it was about. We've talked with Doomwake before when he was tearing up the metagame with Mono Green. So all that good stuff, you can find us on The Pioneer Perspective.
Yep, and if you want to check out Alex's thoughts on Twitter, you can follow him at Disciple of Bolus, just like the card, same spelling and everything. You can find him here as well on the Discord channel. He's literally at Alex, as easy as it gets. And you can find myself under the same name everywhere, Bradcifer, Bradcifer, Twitter, Discord, whatever. I'm also on the podcast, of course, like Alex mentioned. And without further ado, we also have Matt here, the owner of the Discord server, MTG at Home. Matt, welcome aboard. How are you feeling about the overall, showing of the Invitational today?
Well, this was our third Invitational, and it went. I think this was our best one yet. All three of them have been amazing, but this one was great games from start to finish. Just amazing to watch, amazing to be a part of.
Yeah. And I know you had some closing thoughts you want to say for everyone before we get going. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. So first, I just want to say congratulations to Sir Epic. Second straight Invitational. He actually, fun fact, he beat me in the last one to become the champion the first time. So,
no hard feelings
to him. No hard feelings at all. He's one of my best friends, and I would never wish bad on him or anything. Second, I know you guys were thanking everybody earlier, but I just wanted to take a second to thank you, Brad, and you, Alex, for showing up and casting and doing an amazing job like you guys always do. You guys have kind of become the voice of the server over the last couple of months, and I think we needed to recognize you for that. And I wanted to thank Dawn for stepping in very last minute. I mean, we did the test with her yesterday.
Yeah.
So thank you for stepping in, Dawn, for helping us with all the streaming stuff. We were really in a pinch and we weren't sure we were going to do the stream this month, and she really saved us from that. So thank you to her. Thank you to the admin team who helps me run MTG at Home. Without them, I can't do this on my own, so thanks to them, we can make all this happen. And thanks also to our tournament organizers who make sure we have the weeklies every week so that we can get these qualifiers to play in the Invitational. And lastly, I want to thank all the players, both the ones who played today in the Invitational and the ones who play in our weeklies, who make it big, who spread the word, get more players. And we had 64 different Pioneer players over the course of the last 2 months that qualified for the leaderboard. So big numbers. We're not, we're growing. And I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this server over the last 8 months, I think it's been since we've started doing this. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody out there, the watchers, the viewers, the players, the amazing casters, the streamer, everybody.
Yeah, this was a collective team effort. I think we did a wonderful job with what we got, and we look forward to growing and being a bit more refined. And we are excited for everyone to kind of, join us along the ride.
Yeah, and also thank you, Matt, for making all of this possible, setting this all up and giving us the opportunity.
Of course.
Been able to make the cast, do the casting for the events. It's all been amazing, and it's all started with you. So thank you very much for all that.
Thank you.
And last but not least, before we go out, just a quick reminder. We are the MTG at Home Discord server. If you want to hop in and play some Paper Magic, maybe compete for the Invitational and take down Epic for the Pioneer Championship, you can go ahead and hit the link down in the chat available for you guys and hop in the server and play some Paper Magic. If you just want to hang out in general, talk to me, talk to Alex, talk to Matt, talk to literally anyone in the server about literally anything you want, Magic related or otherwise. We have a huge community here. We've been growing a lot, and just like Matt said, and it's been a lot of fun to get to know all these wonderful people. So that being said, guys, we are done here today for the Invitational for the Pioneer Season 7. Thank you again so much for being here again and watching and joining us. And we will hopefully see you guys next time, unless Matt wants to add one last thing.
I just wanted to add the one table still in play was Approach versus who were they playing against this round? Let me look.
Burn? No, Burn was last round.
Oh, they were playing against Omnath, and they won. Approach.
Look at that. So second place was Approach.
Well, second place
Good for
would be.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Dinos. Well, third place. We get there.
Third place.
Semantics. Well, again, thank you for all the players playing. Thank you for everyone watching, and we will see you guys hopefully the next time. Remember, Modern is next month, so I'll see you there as well. You have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye.